Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope you're living your best lives. Thank you for joining us this evening. If it's your first time, you're very welcome to join us. We'll run 2 hours, 2 and a bit hours this evening. So please feel free to stay as long or as short as you wish. If you wish to chat, please feel free to chat. Chat is a friendly place, as you can already see, hopefully. The three of us playing will interact with chat when we're not necessarily busy in the game. Feel free to break all the walls of the game or just ignore us and chat amongst yourselves. Talk about all the cool TV that's going on at the minute or something. I don't know. If you want to lurk, please feel like lurking. We love our lurkers. Lurkers are great. They are the lifeblood, of course. There is a red sun there. You can click. The red sun will allow you to spend some points in the game. I still haven't got one for John. It's really bad. I kept meaning to do it and then I've been busy this weekend. I was going to do something. But click to spend some
This all right.
points. We'll pretend this one's for John because he's the boxer. So this is for Rudi.
I am invincible.
Quite right.
I am invincible. That is officially Rudi's tonight. If you want to spend any points, I've turned the volume down because it's a bit loud apparently. But anyway, yes, we are the Boys from the Baltic Star.
And all because the lady loves milk tray.
Exactly. Tony is very milk tray man. Very milk tray man. But yes, thank you for joining us. If it's your first time, we tend to role play at the weekends. Friday, we usually play Traveller unless one of us isn't around, which I wasn't last night. So Ben and Ewan played some Final Fantasy and died very quickly. I tuned in just in time to see them die.
Incredibly quickly. That was a bad run, that one.
And Saturday we played different role play games, one shots, ongoing stories. We've got Those Dark Places, which is sci-fi horror. Got Orbital Blues, which is kind of more space cowboys. We've got Troika, which is just weird, and we've got this magical tale set in the 1930s, where our heroes are soon to die, unfortunately, and we'll have to start a new game. Did I say that out loud? Oh no. But the best thing, and everyone will agree, chat will agree, Ben will agree, that the best thing about this ongoing story is the person we get to come and play with us. It is a highlight of our month/6 weeks, and it's a joy to have him back. So I'll quickly introduce all of us so that my friends can introduce themselves as well. And then we'll go from there, I guess. So my name is Luke. Hello, I'm the GM for this game. I'm in the top of the screen here in the thing I tried to make look like a photo or something. I don't know. I was just doing some graphic stuff. I'm telling the story tonight. As always, Spez, if the volumes are wonky, could you let me know? And I'm the one that can mess with the volumes, so please let me know. Below me to the bottom right, playing a man called Tony, is the smartest man in any room. The man who lives his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence. He is the milk tray man who every night after streaming goes out into the night with boxes of chocolates, breaks into the upstairs windows of women's houses and leaves them gifts upon their bedside table. Man, those adverts have aged so badly.
They have aged very badly, haven't they?
It is the wonderful, quite frankly, Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Luke. Very well indeed. And as you rightly point out, we absolutely failed dismally at House of Hell. It was one of our worst achievements in this regard. We did appallingly badly. However, very much looking forward to tonight. I always enjoy the adventures of Rudi and Tony, and it's an absolute treat to play with John, of course, and it's a treat to have you along as well. You know, in a slightly less treat way.
We're just bored of each other now. That's the we're like two old dogs at the pound, stuck together when all the others have been taken by owners. But we'll come back to who you're playing in a minute. But first, we'll introduce the man we've been bigging up. He's got a lot to live up to today. It is the hero of Greece. He fought back fires single-handedly. He's the one man who goes close to Ben's quality of voice. I feel like I'm amongst gods tonight with regards to voices. It is an absolute legend of the channel, one of our absolute favourite guests. It is John. Good evening, John. How are you?
Hello, Luke. Lovely to be here. Really excited to play Rudi Otto once again and see if we survive or slash solve this thing or not. I don't know anymore. The list of suspects has grown thinner and thinner with its death, and yet both out of character and in character we don't know who's done it. Oh, we suck at deduction, apparently.
Hopefully find out before you're the next on the murder list.
Let's see.
Speaking of you, John, who in this game is you? Tell us about who you play and why people should support you.
Yeah. I am playing Rudi Otto. He's a German-born man, but he has spent all of his youth in a traveling caravan. Then he went into professional boxing. He had a pro career of 9-0. Some people say it's 10-0. Some fans say he retired undefeated, and then for some strange reason, it's never too late to start. He thought in his 30s, and then he joined the world of academia as history. History is his specialty. He has traveled the world. He has been to many museums. Has lived the Indiana Jones lifestyle, and then he met his partner in crime and solving crimes, Tony Guerrero, and together they have solved quite many cases, but not this one yet. Rudy's a huge fellow. He's obviously he has been a heavyweight in the heavyweight division boxer in his youth. Now he still maintains that large, broad shoulders and physique, but he also has a huge belly that takes much of the room wherever he is. He's donning a beautiful mustache. He's wearing always the most extravaganza of clothes. And right now, he's quite shocked. There's been many murders around him, obviously. And for the first time, maybe in his adventurous life, he's not sure if he can solve this before everyone dies.
We've still got a few left on board at least. Let's hope he can. And of course, in honour of what is definitely a 10-0, I don't care what you say. It is definitely a 10-0. Let me just find the all important. Oh, there it is. Because he is.
I am invincible!
He is invincible. He is unbeaten. He is the big man. He is the hero of the hour. Exactly. Spez is a big fan because John is very good at describing appearance, and Spez is a big fan of appearance being described.
Indeed.
Now, there's one man that whenever he describes his appearance has to include the phrase "splashed with wine." It's Rudy's long-term friend. It is Tony. So Ben, tell us about Tony. Why should we vouch for him?
Well, Tony is Italian by birth, upbringing, and nationality, and I like to think he's actually quite proud of Italian heritage and Italian culture in particular. He is, however, now an academic based in London, still in his 30s, still a relatively young man, and quite widely travelled thanks to his interest in ancient monuments and ancient sites. He is perhaps most distinguished by his absolute belief that every day should be faced while wearing the right pair of trousers. And tragically, it turns out that every adventure that he faces, his trousers are almost immediately ruined. So we find him today, for example, in his fourth best pair of trousers, which is already splashed with wine and is astonishingly the best he can manage, which is really messing with his equilibrium. He's not normally equipped to deal with life with wine splashed trousers. He is, I think, like Rudi. They're both true old-fashioned enthusiast gentleman, one kind or another. But at this particular point in history, and particularly in this location, he's a little bit alarmed by events in the world outside and fearing that at some point someone's going to demand that he come and join up to fight in the Italian military. So there we go. That's everything you really need to know about Tony. The critical thing is fourth best pair of trousers.
So there it is, dear viewers. There are two heroes to vouch for, and I suppose we should go into the story, which is good for Tony and Rudi as well, as they need an update because it's been a few weeks. And
Yeah, a recap deliverance is in order.
now, the phrase fourth best pair of trousers is very important because this will be something that's sitting heavily upon Tony's mind. Because you see, our heroes, Rudi and Tony, have planned a heroic boat journey back from Morocco to France, and wanted to make a big arrival in their finest clothes and in their most splendid attire, because you see, they have found a mythical item, an item which for many years was believed, for hundreds of years, was believed to be maybe not even exist. This item is the bracelet of Mary Magdalene, believed to have been taken down to Morocco during sort of all the purges of the cathedrals in Europe, and hidden down there for centuries. Now, while our friend Rudi Otto was recovering in Switzerland after some quite frank heroism on with the two of them stopping the train in Vienna from exploding and killing everyone in Bern, I believe it was.
It was.
It was. After the cult took over. While he was recovering and recuperating, Rudi found out more about this mythical bracelet. And together with Tony, after he was recovered, they travelled down to Morocco. And after talking with many people, they found this bracelet. Jumping on the SS Cannes, a wonderful small cruise liner, back across the Mediterranean to France. The plan was to stash the bracelet, drink, eat, be merry, plan some of their finest talks for the symposiums and speeches they would give across Europe to those that would be absolutely blown away by their findings and their adventures. This was the plan. But sadly, much like Tony's first, second, and third best trousers, it went wrong. One evening after drinks, they returned back to Tony's room to find it torn apart. Bottles of alcohol strewn everywhere, trousers strewn everywhere, papers strewn everywhere. And the only thing they could find missing was what they thought was the well-hidden bracelet. This, you see, put our heroes into a bit of what we're going to call a tizzy. I don't think that's 1930s terminology, for it's 1937. But a tizzy they were in nonetheless. And heading back over to the front of ship, to the dining room in time for dinner, they started talking with other guests. I'm going to bring up the manifest now. It's not quite up to date because we do need to cross someone else off. But they chatted with different passengers upon the ship. Manuel Riaz, Ahmed Hassan, an antiques dealer, Jean Durand, an actor, Camille Moulin, and her boyfriend, who is Jean Durand, Robert and Mary Smith, an elderly English couple, Shirley and Stella O'Neill, young American sisters, Colonel George Hightower, the most beloved old drunkard this side of Mississippi, Rudi, of course, our hero, Tony, our other hero, Alex and Carla, newlyweds, who they didn't know much about at the time, and then two mysterious characters, Hugo Fisher and Gonzalo Arrondo, who were pushed to the downstairs rooms, not given enough money to stay in the nicer upstairs rooms with the windows and the views. But anyway, as they were trying to get to the bottom of who had stolen their bracelet, Ahmed Hassan slipped them a note saying that he knew more. He had information, and to see him at the back of the ship, behind the bar. As they headed over, it was too late, for he had been killed, murdered, brutally stabbed. The two of them immediately sprung into action. Tony trying to check out the body, find out what was there. Rudi running downstairs into the crew quarters, trying to look for clues in his best Scooby-Doo approach. Sadly for the two of them, there were hints of clues, but nothing certain. So as they were sort of coming back together again and people gathering, Tony, in his strongest, manliest voice, commanded that the captain, Captain Larice, stopped the ship and started an investigation. And they had conversations in Tony's room. Now, while they were in there was a gasp from the outside. Following this noise upstairs, someone that had heard their conversation, they were shocked and saddened as gunfire rang out up in the top in the lounge bar as the young American Shirley O'Neill was shot dead in front of Tony's eyes. Tragic. She could not give big clues as to who it was really in her last gasping words, and we were down to 2 dead. Soon after more investigations, this became 3, for at the end of the session before last, they had arranged a meeting with the head chef back up in the lounge bar. And as they got there, to get more to grips with what was going on with their most hated of all the staff, Philippe Macron, who was indeed the one that spilt the wine over Tony's trousers. Reason enough to believe that he was the murderer. They went up to meet with the head chef for more information. And as they got there, a figure stood over them. The chef already killed, a knife in the murderer's hands, but all covered in black, difficult to see. And this is where the last session happened. So our 2 heroes came face to face with the killer. Rudi screamed out as the killer charged for Tony, getting past him, but running into the powerful fist of the unbeaten 10-0 Rudi Otto, leading to blood spraying from their mouth and obvious heavy bruising around it. Tony sprang into action himself, tackling them down the stairs as they thudded into the stairs behind the back of the lounge bar. But Tony could not hold him down as the murderer managed to level up quite a punch to Tony's groin, rearranging his testicles and leaving him howling in agony. As he howled, Rudi was chasing. Definitely 11-0 Spurs after that one. Rudi, although a larger man with a cane, gave chase down the stairs, down to the next step down by the dining room. I'll remove the manifest so you can see it a bit better. The stairs down from the lounge bar to just by the dining room, by the shuffleboard. Following the figure who the elderly English couple, the Smiths, said, they've gone down, they've gone downstairs. So as they chased them down, they were joined by everyone's favourite alcoholic, Colonel Hightower, and by it was I'm putting it down now, Alex Lebert, who turned out to be a resistance fighter in Spain for the Republic. Taking the Colonel downstairs, Tony headed into the crew quarters as Rudi, on a whim, thinking, pondering, decided to head to the room of Camille Moulin, one who they'd found suspicious in previous conversations, a religious woman, someone draped over her boyfriend. And after all, it turned out that this bracelet may have been taken, as the Lebers said, by someone working for the Spanish powers in an order to bring the war to an end on the side of the fascists. Running downstairs, Tony and the Colonel barged their way down the crew quarters and found bloody handprints by the entrance to a cabin. Throwing the cabin open, Tony was delighted to see the terrified and shocked Philippe Macron, immediately assuming he was the murderer because You would. Anyone that's ruined your trousers is definitely a murderer.
Clearly.
But he was dressed in black. There was blood on his hand. He fitted the look. So Tony dragged him upstairs, even though he was confused, tired, not sure what was going on, and dragged him over to the aft deck. During this time, Rudi had gone in to talk to Camille, confronting her in the cabin about the missing bracelet. She refused to talk, screaming out for help. Her boyfriend Jean ran into the cabin to join them. But at this point, Rudi, looking carefully at Camille's hands, discovered that she had tried to stash a document. Making her hand it to him, he saw that she had forged her boyfriend's signature, an actor, to get Hugo Fischer a position as head chef at the next movie in the Pyrenees. So there's some connection there. As she tore the paper up and with no sellotape around, much to Ben's comments in the chat at the time, Rudi joined Tony at the back of the ship with the very upset Macron being dangled over the edge by Tony, much to the Colonel's delight, demanding that he basically be fed.
Hit him again.
Do it again. He'll teach him. I found Macron promising that he didn't do it. That it was nothing to do with him. That he'd only just woken up again. That he'd woken up in just in black and covered in the blood. That his breakfast had been bought for him like every morning by a member of the kitchen crew, and that after eating it, he'd lost consciousness and only just woken again. He did remember one thing, that the person bringing it was wearing chef's whites, but did not have the logo of the SS cans. Suspicious indeed, and maybe enough to throw uncertainty into that. But even if he is innocent, in the eyes of Tony, is he truly innocent? So as things got curiouser and curiouser, and the deaths adding up, the bracelet missing, blood everywhere, and suspicious papers and behaviour, our heroes called everyone into the dining room for a true Poirot moment. The aim, to look to see who had bruising on the face, because surely that would be the one who had been punched by Rudi and was therefore at least one of the murderers, as our heroes believe there may be more than one person behind this. As they dragged everyone in except for Stella, still mourning for her dead sister, Manuel, who's been sick all journey, and Camille. Everyone else was brought in, lined up. The captain, the chief engineer, kitchen staff, waiters, bar staff, Arondo, Fisher, the Lebers, the Colonel, the Smiths, and Jean Durand, all lined up as Rudi stuck his tummy out as far as he could, demanded that he was the one asking the questions, and marched down the line looking for bruising from his earlier punch. Eventually they came to one man who seemed like there was perhaps makeup on his face covering a bruise. That man was Hugo Fischer. Rudi, seeing him as the prime suspect. At this point, Tony, worrying about Carla Lebert, one of the resistance fighters, one of the guerrillas, took her to her room, warned her that she may be the next victim. Asked her to, under the premise of going to get makeup remover with her. She told him that Arondo is looking after her and Alex, so to not be too concerned for her. And so they returned to the dining room with the makeup remover, and he rubbed it over Fisher's face, revealing bruising. The man himself feeling pain when pushed on that side of the face. Finally, it seemed, they had their prime suspect, but in their moment of glory, a gunshot rang out as Hugo Fischer's skull exploded, covering our heroes and Tony's fourth best pair of trousers in blood. He drops every now and again on roll 20. He'll be back in a second.
Okay.
He's back. He's back. See. And that is where we ended last time, with prime suspect Hugo Fisher dead and blood coating our heroes as the screaming and shouting starts breaking out in the cabin, in the dining room. Now, what will our heroes do this evening? I'm sure we shall find out. It is 9 a.m.
So there's a bit of chaos, right?
Yes. So as soon as that gunshot goes, you literally have so people react in different ways, I guess, but generally the Smiths, who are just there with like a nice old people cruise, start shouting and screaming out. The Colonel, he's like, bloody hell! This is disgusting. Who did this? Alex and Carla look shocked. The kitchen staff, the waiters, and the bar staff are not trained for this. They start freaking as the captain's trying to calm them down, but struggling to.
Rudi will join in with the captain and will say, "Everyone, keep calm and stay down. Gunshots fired left and right."
Yeah, I'm going to yell the same thing. Everybody get down, and I'm going to keep my eye very closely on all of the doors in case anyone tries to leave, because we are now looking for a shooter who is probably not in this room, put it that way. And that means we've got an enormous number of people scrubbed from the suspect list for this one. So, how many people are not in this room?
I could tell you who's not in this room. So, the people that are not in this room from the manifest, there are only 3 who are not in the room from the manifest.
Mm-hmm.
One is Manuel Riaz, who, as far as you're concerned, has spent the whole time in his cabin pretty much sick.
Yep.
For like the last couple of days. You've got Camille Moulin, of course, who Rudi had confronted earlier, the very religious political woman, and the girlfriend of Jean. And you've got Stella O'Neill. So you've got Manuel, Camille, and Stella from the manifest. We're not in there. From the crew, there's like half the crew aren't in there, including Macron. But Macron wasn't in there, and he was sort of being held. Last you'd seen him, he was sort of being held by a couple of the staff that you'd sort of don't go anywhere kind of thing. But yeah, Macron.
Right.
Some of the others, probably about 10 other crew on the ship.
Is it possible that someone from inside the room actually made the shot, or that's no way that's possible?
We could make this. Let's make this the first roll of the evening, Rudi.
All right.
So we are using, for those watching, Those Dark Places rules, written by John Hicks, who I love this rule set. It's not really made for this necessarily, but it's nice and simple rules. It's based around 1d6 plus some skills being added to it, and generally our players will have to hit 8 or above. Sometimes a bit easier, sometimes a bit more. Our heroes also have some skills, which will tie into this. Now, Rudi is going to make an education roll, please.
All right.
So, what's your education? So, for people watching for the first time, what is your education rating?
It's 3, and I rolled a 4, so a total of 7.
7, fantastic. So,
Like a rough success, something like that.
Yes. So, for those watching, they've got charisma, agility, strength, and education, which is our standard rolls. They'll have a 1 in 1, 2 in 1, 3 in 1, and 4 in 1. And then they've each got a couple of things that they're good at. So Rudi gets a bonus if he can kind of persuade me to believe it's about history or fighting. He's good at history and fighting. A good combination. Tony, if he can sort of persuade me that it's to do with engineering, stabby fighting. I think that's something you gain. Stabby fighting.
Yep.
And feats of daring do.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly for Rudi, I can't link history and fighting into this. So a 7. From what you can tell, the noise rang out. You don't think it was in the room, but you couldn't tell for sure.
Hmm.
It's a good excuse, though.
When Rudy sees Tony looking at the door, he gets the message because sometimes these two can communicate without words, and he goes at the like to prevent everyone from leaving. He goes by the door, by the entrance to the room.
There are 4 exits to that dining room. Which exit are you
4
going
exits.
to?
Oh my god.
People tend to
Okay.
use. If you look at the picture, people tend to use the one to the left for walking in, because that's the one closest to their cabins, and the one at the
True.
end for going for a smoke generally. So either end is probably the most likely to be used.
Okay, then I'm gonna. Rudy's gonna go to the left, I guess, the one connecting with the rooms,
Yep.
and he has like his arms like that and says, "Everyone, keep calm. We are going to solve this. No one else is going to die." And then he gulps really loud because he doesn't really believe that.
Okay. While this is going on, Tony is doing some rapid thinking. And despite being a man of action, as you rightly point out, he's also a man of thoughtfulness. Though most of his thought has been directed towards the ancient world rather than current things. You say Philippe Macron is not in the room.
Macron is not in the room, no.
Okay. I'm going to say to the captain, where are they keeping Macron? I need to see him immediately.
The captain, who sort of, his head's buzzing a little bit, sort of, he's had that moment. Now he's trying to gather himself back together professionally. He's the captain of a transport ship, a cruise ship, not the captain of the military.
He's a bit
like, whoa, whoa. Yeah. And he's like, they would be keeping him downstairs in the crew quarters. They would. We've got some rooms. I'll bring up the map for you in a sec. They would put him in the. Generally, they'll put him in the back cabin. The rear cabin is sort of one that is often doubled up for if we need to lock someone up through being drunk or stealing. Not that it happens very often. And so he would be in that end cabin.
I'm going to all we saw when Fisher's head was hit, all we saw was just an explosion of blood, right?
Yes.
There isn't any shattered glass in a window or anything in the dining room?
Is your plan now to do a bit of poiroting and have a look around?
Yes. What I'm going to try to do is track the bullet path, basically, if I can.
Okie dokie. Could you then roll for me? Let's go for education for me, please.
Okay.
Education
Now,
+6.
I don't know if you are going to give me this, but is there any way this could be construed as daring do?
No.
I would advocate the same, yes.
No.
In that case, it's 4 + 6.
Only if you start running around firing yourself to see the angles. Being extra daring about it.
Only if I can shoot at Macron.
Would you say 4 + 2?
+6, a total of 10.
Okay. Where do you want to start? I'll work you around the dining room.
All right. So first things first. Where in the room was Fisher standing when he was hit?
So you were lined up. If you look at the dining room as it is now,
Mhm.
as you walk through the door, the two of you have often used to go for food is that door to the left, the one that
Yep.
Rudi is standing by. You've walked out your cabins and through for the meal. As you go in through that door, you've got round tables generally laid out. Sort of, there's been like half a dozen round tables zigzagged along
Yes.
with a bar at the far corner, and often breakfast time there was that because you serve yourself at breakfast. Down the left hand side, as you looked at it, would be where, or the top of where the picture is, was where all the food was. Those tables were still there because they were still clearing away from breakfast. People were lined up as you looked at them, facing towards the bottom of the picture.
Okay, so they were kind of lined up along the top side of the dining room, looking towards the bottom.
Yes, but now with the four doorways, generally you could be seen from any angle. Now, what you will know is that you can probably the right hand door out to the front deck still had curtains pulled, so there's no way anyone could have seen in through that door. And you can also,
Okay.
so you can cancel that off immediately.
Right.
There's no way, and the curtains are still in good nick. They've not been like blown apart or anything. So that's your first definite. Where do you like to look? So they've sort of lined up down the middle, so they were visible from everywhere. Really.
Okay, so how? Yeah, but how far left or right in that row was our victim? First of
He
all.
was he was on the end, and he was on the end. If you look at the picture as it is now, he was probably where you see where the R of room is.
Yep.
He was in
Mhm.
that the top right of the R.
Okay, so he was pretty much in a straight line between the two main doors,
Yes.
and everybody was lined up left to right on that picture.
Yes, so he was at the end. So the first people you looked at were the crew. Well, the first people, Tony stuck his tummy out and walked down to look at, were the crew. The crew had been at the right hand side by the
Right.
G because they'd been serving, they'd been preparing and sort of clearing away and stuff.
Okay.
Then he worked his
So
way along after that from
so
right to left.
doors top and bottom,
Hmm.
closed or open.
They were both open. The weather is nice, and it's good. Now, top and bottom, you're looking straight out into the Mediterranean.
Yeah, but there is a little bit of a companionway, isn't there, down the
Yeah,
sides?
there's walking way down the side. Yeah.
So based on sort of logic, it seems practical to me that he was probably shot from the main deck, from where essentially Rudi is standing now,
In that
in
direction.
that direction. Okay, well, that's terrible news. I mean, it's probably not very good news for Fisher, but it's even worse news for me. Because it sounds to me like in all the chaos, there was time for someone standing that end to skip away, which means I have two errands immediately. I want to go and speak, if I can, with Macron. So that means heading down into the crew area, and then I think it is high time that Rudi and I both had a conversation with our sick Senor Riaz.
Rudy walks by Tony and says, "Tony, what have you managed to find anything? I see you're thinking and looking around. You're tracking the bullet's direction."
Yes, I think it was shot from the direction of the main deck cabin, the main deck house,
He
which
turns around
is,
to see behind him.
yeah, which is a problem because there's a lot of places for someone to skip away and hide from there.
I will follow your lead, my friend, on this one. I
Okay.
must say, I'm pretty shocked that we haven't solved this one yet.
It is surprising to me, but I feel things will get much better once we've visited Philippe Macron, and I have taken the opportunity to administer a savage beating to him.
I will
I
assist
strongly-
you on that beating.
I strongly suspect that he has nothing to do with this murder.
Oh no.
But administering a truly savage beating will make me feel better. So
It's been a tough day.
So I'm going to head off down into the crew compartment, the most direct route, down through their sort of common area.
Yes, you can do that. So, as there's a lot of kerfuffle, of course, in the dining room with Captain Laurice sort of jumping into action and getting the crew to sort of clean up, sort of see to the dead man. The Colonel, seeing as a very rum-do, goes over to the bar and pours himself a rather large scotch. It's 9 o'clock, so and he's only about 6 drinks in, so it's good for him. But he sits down at the table as you leave, and everyone else is just sort of a bit shocked. They don't know what to do. So you going into action is like the first person really springing in. So Tony, Rudi, are you going down with Tony or just?
He will follow, but he will address the crowd, the panicked crowd before leaving, and says, "Rest assured, passengers of the SS Cans, that we will find whoever did this and all the other murders. If it is, yes, you will. Rest assured." He doesn't really look sure though, but he's trying to convince everyone and himself, and then he follows Tony.
As we walk, I'd like to take the opportunity to have a quick word with Rudi where we won't be easily overheard by everyone else.
Rudi is taking his like sweating. He's taking care of the sweating of his forehead. Sighs very loudly and says, "Okay, tell me."
I think we had come to the conclusion that there had to be 2 murderers. So the really good news is we've already solved one of them.
Oh, did?
Yes, we can be pretty confident that Fisher was one of the murderers. And we can be very, very confident that there's going to be, shall we say, no long drawn out legal process in order to find him guilty, and no government will be responsible for his care and upkeep for years in prison.
So you're suggesting that the second murderer murdered the first murderer?
That is my thinking, yes. And I'm
Preposterous.
desperately hoping that this second murderer turns out to be Philippe Macron.
Do not
because-
allow your personal feelings to be involved in this.
The way I see it, there are essentially a large number of murders that have taken place on the ship. And the second one was the murder of my best pair of trousers. So my feeling very, very clearly is that we need to at least deal with Macron at the earliest opportunity. But if he has remained locked in that cabin, and we
There's
can,
no way that
then
he
there's
did.
no way he's the shooter.
Yes, indeed.
So we can rule him out of this if we can do that. And remember, this is a guy who was found with his hand covered in blood. So taking this opportunity to rule him out is a good one. Then essentially we're likely to be down to just 3 potential killers. And our 3 potential killers are all people we've met apart from Manuel Ruiz, really. I think we saw him, but we haven't really spent any time with him because he's apparently been constantly sick.
But as you said, it's about high time to interrogate this man.
Yes,
How about we do it right now?
let's do it. So if it's okay, I'm going to lead the way down into the crew-only compartment just to ascertain that Macron is in fact being kept and everyone's comfortable that he was staying there.
Have we actually see him being sick, like throwing up or like sweating or whatever? That
I seem
looks
to
like.
remember we saw him leaning on the rail looking a bit green, but I don't think we've seen anything more obvious than that.
Who, Macron?
No, Ruiz.
Yeah, you've seen him being sick. During the journey, you'll have seen him a few times. I think I mentioned in one of the earlier streams that you've
Yeah.
seen. The fact that he said he's been sick matches with what the two of you had seen during the journey, especially after like a day in.
Okay, let's pay him. We are going to check him just to make sure and make a more up close and personal inspection of his health and his whereabouts.
Okay.
Okay, so where are the two of you going first then? Are you going to...
I just want to head down first to the crew area to find out if Philippe Macron, the man who was literally caught red-handed at an earlier moment, was in fact was in fact confined to his quarters during this most recent shooting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Rudi follows Tony.
Okay. Right. So the two of you head downstairs. It's very quiet down there, which isn't. You've only been down there a couple of times, but it doesn't seem weird because you know everyone's faffing around upstairs, and so everyone's probably either stressing in the dining room, working in the kitchen, doing the washing up, or if they're off shift, they're probably sleeping. So it's not ridiculous that it's empty down there. So you do get to head down.
Is it possible to be sleeping after a gunshot being fired? Like who's sleeping now?
It is a ship that's very made of very thick sort of steel and things. So it's possible. Who knows if you're fast asleep? I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see. They may not be. Everyone's a suspect, Rudi, until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're all in on
Exactly.
the crew. So you head down, and then you head down into the crew area, and for the first time for either of you two, actually, there's no one around the mess area. For both of you, last time you've been down, there's been one or two sort of hanging around, drinking, eating. But as you head down there's no one in there. All the doors are closed, but there doesn't seem to be any sign of life in the crew quarters. Are you heading straight to the cabin on the end then? The one that the captain...
Yes, the captain indicated which cabin it was, so straight there. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the cabin, and it does appear to be slightly different to the others. It does have a lock from the outside. You remember from before that we talked about that the crew can lock from the inside of theirs for private time. But this one has quite a heavy duty looking, just a bolt lock on the outside, which does appear to be locked.
Okay. I'm just going to pull it back and open it and ascertain,
just to make sure. Let's check with our own eyes.
Yeah.
You sort of pull it back, and sort of the door creaks open. And it takes a while for you to blink in because there is a light on in there, but it's quite dark.
Mm-hmm.
And you do see a figure sat on the end of the bed, sort of on their bottom on the bed with their knees up, and their arms around the knees and their heads in there, clearly looking sort of quite distressed in the corner, in a small, sort of in a ball.
Then that is enough to satisfy me for the moment. I'm going to close the door, and then as we make our way up onto the aft deck,
I say to Philippe, carry on, and then close the door. Hold on tight.
As we head up, I'm going to say, I think we've now come to the conclusion that we have to say Philippe Macron is innocent of murder. Not only that, I think we know who framed him. Because if one were, for example, traveling to become the head chef on a movie set in the Pyrenees, one might well have the outfit of a chef. And since we know, and Macron is now starting to look more and more reliable, that his breakfast was brought to him by someone he didn't immediately recognize through his bleary eyes, but he did notice had a chef's outfit, but not the logo of the SS Can, I think we can say with some confidence that Fisher was probably the man who framed Macron. Now, that means that when I throw Macron over the side, I need you to understand that's not because I believe he killed anyone.
Oh, you're a hard man.
That's right. I'll wait until we're in port. Even I don't believe in murdering people over the loss of trousers, even my best trousers.
Can you put the manifest back on, Luke?
Of course I can. Of course I can.
Thank you. All right, then we go to Mr. Riaz's room. Quarters. Yes.
We essentially have the possibility that Stella O'Neill is one of the killers, in which case one of the killers, presumably her,
This is
killed her sister.
preposterous. You're suggesting that she's a kinslayer, that she's
Indeed,
killed her own
exactly that.
sister.
That is a possibility.
It's an outrage. It is, but yet a possibility.
And Camille, we like Camille. Doesn't mean she didn't kill people, though. Maybe they were bad people.
You like.
Maybe they needed
I don't
to.
like Camille. Tony.
You know, so we should have a word with her again. And yes, let's start with Senor Riaz, because it's time, I think, to speak with him, and we haven't really had a detailed opportunity yet.
Okay, if you're happy to, you've got the cruise only stairwell right near you at the back. If you wish to use that, you've both used that before, so like a shortcut up, or you can go back up the main entrance.
We'll go up the one at the far end, from, closest to where Macron's room is, because we can then just hop round the corner to where Riaz's cabin is, I think.
Perfect. So you head up the stairs. You go through the door that you sort of have to unlock to get up, because it's sort of the crew only sort of space. So they've got a special key to get in, but you can get up there through the inside. And you come up on the back of the back of ship behind the day bar. The day bar is still sort of curtained off. There were some conversations held out there earlier in the morning, but the day bar is not yet ready for full operation, of course, because there's only a couple of people on the ship that would be drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. So the doors are shut, the curtains are pulled. And it's all very quiet around there. So as you come out, all you can see is the day bar and the aft deck, and the back of the Mediterranean behind the ship as the ship continues forging forwards towards port. Very far in the distance to the right, as you look out, you can sort of start seeing the coast. The coast of France is there, just far off. You're a few hours away still from making land. It was going to be early afternoon when you landed. And so if you're going to Memories' cabin, that is number 1. So I take it you're going to go around that corner towards his cabin?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so you follow it round, and again, there's no one there. It's all shut up, the day bar. It's all very quiet down this end of the ship. And you get to cabin number 1.
Before we enter, I whisper close to Tony, and I say, I think we are well past beyond pleasantries and good manners. If that man is indeed the murderer, we know that he's carrying a weapon, a firearm weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest that we use not only caution, but take every, take any measure to make sure she's not holding a weapon and she's definitely not using it against us.
You're right. Should I
So,
go and get Philippe Macron? We can use him as a human shield.
you should leave that man alone for the moment. I told you not let your personal feelings interfere.
Fair enough. Fair enough, Rudi.
You don't need a shield when you have a weapon in myself. Two weapons, actually, and I do this motion.
Remember, here's the man that's carrying 2 guns everywhere he goes.
So I will storm the front first.
Okay, I will be right behind you.
Yes. Okay. So Rudi goes to the door first. How do you want to go about it then, Rudi?
I will. The door is. I don't know if it's locked. I will barge in, holding the cane, possibly as a weapon as well. Yes, a cane can be used as a weapon. So, like with one the hand I open the door, and with the other I'm like that with the cane, and I immediately shout. Actually, it's locked. Can the door open?
It's the how do you want to try the handle then? Are you just going to burst straight in? Are you going to try the handle gently? Just going to burst for it?
No, very not gently. I will barge in.
Okay, could you roll for me a strength check for me, please?
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you as well, because you're a man of significant heft. I will give you a +1 to this roll.
Oh,
well.
a
So you-
special last one from the GM. What an honor.
Yeah.
But
We'll
the
call it
truth is
a
that
belly roll.
Rudi's he's in his 50s now, mid 50s, and he's not as strong as he used to be. So I only have 2 strength, which your bonus goes to 3.
Yeah.
And the roll was a 6 though, a total of 9.
Cool. So Rudi barges through the door. The way it gives suggests that it wasn't locked. And you barge straight in, and because it sort of didn't give as much, it didn't hold back at you as much as you thought it was. You stumble a little bit as you go in.
But I'd say aha when I enter. No matter what I see, like it's like
your glorious aha is wasted because there appears to be no one in there. As you sort of, the curtain had been closed, so each of the cabin has sort of a small window, and that had all been closed, so it was quite dark. And as the light shines in from the open doorway past Tony's frame, thank you, Kelly. You take care. Thank you for dropping in. I hope you have a great time at GMing, by the way. You see, well, the first thing that hits you before anything visual is the smell. This place smells like. Have you ever walked into a room where people have just been ill for like 3 or 4 days? That smell of just body odor, urine, sick. It's a very unpleasant smelling room. It does not smell good. You sort of almost recoil at the smell. And as the light becomes more visible, the first thing you see is that there are, rather disgustingly, a couple of buckets. One appears to have urine in, another appears to be sort of coated in sick. There are sheets and towels that are sort of discarded in the corner that look quite grubby and disgusting, that have sort of been used. And there's sort of empty bottles of booze from a man trying to self-medicate, you would suggest. It's a pit of disease, Rudi, is what I'm trying to tell you.
But he's not there. The room's empty.
He is not there. The room is empty.
Okay, Rudi will make a search of an area, make sure that he's not hiding under the bed or behind a curtain or whatever. just to make sure.
Okay, you're not. I'm guessing you're going to do it quite thoroughly, so I won't make you make a roll. You sort of pull back curtains, look under the bed.
And aha! And when I look under the bed, aha again!
Every time. It's like the travel wardrobe, an area that a man couldn't even be in. Aha! Each time you get excited, but there is indeed no one there.
Hmm.
Yeah, his suitcases. He's sort of travelled with a few suitcases. They're sort of open. Clothing is a bit strewn. Um, it's just a very untidy, unclean, unpleasant, dark room.
Seems to be a miss, our suspect. But it seems he coughs that the sickness was not a cover up, perhaps.
Either that or his standards are slipping. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, being ill doesn't make it impossible that he's a killer.
Indeed. Perhaps
Just
he has
speak to
hidden.
Typhoid Mary, for example. But at least one part of his story does seem to check out. You're right. Which raises another question. We need to find this man. He's now missing.
Indeed so. But how about while we search for him, we go to visit the two other suspects of the moment? And maybe we should continue with. Is it Stella or Stella is dead?
Stella's the living sister.
Yes, Stella's still alive, and apparently is bereft and very upset. So let's go and make that worse.
Yes.
Go and harass a mourning woman.
Let's add the insult to injury.
Absolutely.
Insulting
whatever else we do.
A grieving moment.
You're gonna burst in. Aha!
Rudi will try to be a little more sympathetic and civil with her, but no one is free from. No one is a suspect. Is free from being a suspect right now,
and quite rightly so.
Well, to be fair, we don't know she's a killer, but we do know she's an American. So we've got at least one reason to accuse her.
So do you want to go around the top or around the bottom?
Yeah, let's continue our lap, I think, just in case
maybe
we spot anything as we
maybe
go.
it's a Tony. Maybe it's a good time now that we split.
Oh yes, good idea.
I think right now to cover more area, but it will be dangerous to be alone. So be careful. See you outside of Stella's room.
Yes, see you there. Which number is Stella's room, by the way, Luke? I can't remember.
It's number 6.
Okay, so effectively,
Rudi will take the faster route, and Tony, who's more agile, should go to the. Actually,
right.
if I remember, we're both equally bad at agility, but still,
I think we are. But
you're not using a cane. Yeah.
I will retrace the steps back to the aft deck, around the back, and down to Stella's cabin.
So we'll follow you first, Tony, and then we'll follow Rudi, and I'm guessing you're going to meet there together. So, Tony.
Yeah, we will meet outside.
It is as deserted as when you first got there. Again, you walk past the day bar, all the curtains are pulled. It seems very quiet. You come round the aft deck and around to the bottom. You go past the other rooms. The rooms, I'll run you past them. Alex and Carla LeBear, their room is empty, unsurprisingly, because they were part of the scene in the dining room a few minutes ago. Next is Tony's room. That's yours, which of course is empty, but still has that the damage, of course, around the doorway where it got barged in that fateful day yesterday. The next room is Rudi's, which you're assuming is, of course, empty. And the next is the Colonel, George Hightower's room. And the room after that is now only Stella O'Neill's, number 6. And you do not run into anyone on your way here. It is all very quiet.
Okay. As I make the way down, I am just going to pop open my door as I go past and peer inside to see if anything's changed.
You pop open the door and you look inside. Could you roll education? But I'm going to make it an easy check because you know what your room looks like. If that makes
Okay.
sense. You should have faith in them, Kelly. They're very intelligent.
That's a total of 8. I'm sorry, 9.
It looks exactly as you left it.
Okay, fair enough. I at the back of my mind, I was wondering if it was possible there was more than one person searching for the thing and didn't know it had been stolen. Does that make any sense?
That does make sense, yes.
I might have come back to ruffle through looking for it, but anyway, yes, we move on, and I shall await Rudi joining me.
Rudi goes around the north. Now Rudi has an equally quiet journey round and does not run into anyone. He comes down past the main deck, focused on room 6. Rudi's getting a boon for when he needs it as well. Thank you, Kelly. That is very appreciative.
Thank you.
Again, focus on getting to room 6. You see nothing. You see no one. It is very, very quiet. And you're making it to room 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tony will probably you're sort of a bit more slow. You've got less distance, but you're walking more slowly, and you reach the room at the same time.
Okay. I'm going to turn to Rudi and say, do we approach this one slightly differently?
Slightly, maybe a few less ahas.
a few less ahas. Should we knock, or should we just barge in?
No knocking. This is a murder investigation after all. So I barge once again.
Okay.
With the aha, maybe.
Could you roll for me a strength, please, Rudi, with your +1 for your wonderful middle-aged man's frame?
This time is only a 2 + 3, so a total of 5.
Okie. And then could you roll for me your agility?
Uh-oh. That's a total of 3.
Okay. You barge into the door, which as you barge into it, it gives straight away because it appears it was just sort of on the latch. And so it swings open wildly without any pressure from you at all. And you go stumbling in, crashing in rather an undignified heap onto the floor with an aha, mid-aha. Aha!
I'll step in behind, clearing my throat and looking around to see if there is, in fact, a Stella here.
As you sort of step over the fallen, slightly broken figure of Rudi, you look around. It's a bigger room. There's a couple of doubles, and you've not been in one yet. And it is definitely nice. So it's definitely bigger. They've got the 2 beds there. They're both singles, but there's a bit more space. And within the room, there is nobody in it.
Rudi says, I at least I made sure that nobody's under the bed. And then, come on, help me. Help a man get on his feet.
I will help Rudi to his feet and then say, I have a question. Everyone we're looking for at the moment has disappeared completely. Is it possible we have special powers?
I don't know about that special powers. Our special powers were supposed to be solving crimes and finding mythical items. So far, we are bad at both. We have lost our prized possession, and we cannot find anyone that we are looking for. What is this? is this mockery?
We have to visit Camille immediately.
I'm not sure what we should do. Perhaps if we visit her, she's not going to be there. But we should, yes.
Yes.
We should.
We're going
Because-
to charge out towards Camille.
Okie-dokie. You come around the dining room shuffleboard side, the way that
Actually, maybe we, since she's not here, maybe I say to Tony, actually, perhaps we can check Stella's room if we indeed consider her a suspect.
point.
Because she's not here.
Since
Perhaps
she's
the
not here,
bracelet will
yeah.
be here.
Let's search it thoroughly. Yes. Is this a good time to take a break, Luke?
if you'd like to, we can do. There's a
If you don't mind.
Yeah, that's not a problem, mate. We'll take a break.
Yeah. Good
Okay,
for me.
let's take 5 minutes for everyone. A comfort break. Don't go anywhere, please, viewers. We'll be back very shortly for more Tony and Rudi. Can they get to the bottom of this? Is everyone just vanishing? Has the boat ended up in the Bermuda Triangle by mistake? I don't know.
A bit off course.
Are the aliens actually? Is it a sci-fi game? Who knows? Right.
We are using a sci-fi system. Perhaps that's a
Exactly.
twist.
That is the twist. Right, we'll be back in 5, everyone. See you in a few.
Right.
Hello, we're back and we're full of comfort and we're ready to bring excitement and joy to your lives. Where did we
We
leave it?
hope.
We hope. Tony and Rudy trying to trying to hunt down the one remaining, they believe, murderer, killer, uh, stealer of items and destroyer of trousers. Um, Went to start looking around the cabins of those that weren't there when someone was just shot. First of all, they went downstairs to look for Tony's most hated of all crew members, who was indeed locked away. Then they've gone to Ruiz's cabin, who says he's been sick all week, and his room certainly suggested that, but it was empty. They went down to Stella's room, the sister of the dead American, to find that her room too was empty, that her mourning and crying in there that she'd been doing for the last day, she was no longer there. So this is where we join our friends in that room, and that's where we get to do it. Let's do it. Go.
Let's search where someone would hide a bracelet, for example. Like,
A bracelet or a gun.
indeed, I would think they would have the gun on themselves, whoever did it. But let's see where this goes.
Yes.
Right. Let's do some rolls for you guys then. I'm not going to tell you to search every single thing. You know what the rooms look like. You know the places to look. You've hidden things yourselves. So can you both please roll an education for me, please? To
Ooh.
decide if there's
Yes, indeed. I
One.
don't think I can justify adding history or anything to it. Not that I actually have that anyway.
Total of 4.
Total of 4 for Rudy.
I'm maybe
That's
too
a 3
shocked for my
plus-
fall.
3 plus 4, total of 7.
Okay. Well, before Rudy sort of pulls himself up slowly, nursing his knee that took a bit of a knock in the tumble, and
Ooh.
he's trying to look, but it's like he can't bend down as much as he would have done, so he's having to do a bit more surface flicking around the desk. And he's sort of a bit shaken up by the situation, so he doesn't really find too much. What Tony finds is looking through stuff. He doesn't find anything in cupboards or in hidey holes or in drawers as he goes through. The only thing of interest you find is Stella's diary, which, let's be fair, is probably something of interest.
Mm.
Is this something that the two of you would like to look through?
In detail, please. Yes.
Okay. You flick through. What sort of time are you wanting to spend on it? It's quite. She's generally putting like a paragraph, 2 paragraphs a day.
I tell Tony maybe check the final entry.
I'm very tempted to start at the most recent entry and work back until it stops being interesting, if that makes sense.
Yes. So there's no entry for today. The entry for yesterday is just literally all she's written is just like, she's dead, like a dozen times, with the sort of the writing sort of falling apart, as it sort of goes further down. It's clearly been written in a lot of distress. Flicking back the days before, the 2 days before on the cruise, there's usual information about how a lovely time they're having, the nice meals, the nice conversations they've had. They speak highly of both of you two. So if you're fine gentlemen, they're well known. They've enjoyed their conversations with you. They've enjoyed conversations with the LeBears, especially. They like the Colonel, but they say he's a bit handsy. He's a bit sort of dirty, and so they just like we've had a lovely time, but we've just knowing there's a time of the night to leave. When he wants a nightcap, in the bar, that's the time to go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're nice about him, but just sort of a bit like he's just some.
While Tony's reading, I go by the door. I said it wouldn't be a good image to find us like this, so I will keep an check on the corridor, see if someone's coming or anything.
Fantastic. While you're over there, the one thing Tony does find is a reference again to conversations with that they'd overheard conversations, basically, about the bracelet does crop up. Now, this is not shocking to you because when her sister Shirley died, her last words were that he has the bracelet. He has the
Yes.
bracelet. He has it. This is where I'm concerned. And in it, they do talk about that. These people talking about you having a very special bracelet, and that they said that Hugo Fisher was speaking quite a lot about the bracelet, and he was in conversation with a lady. They sort of overheard it. We overheard the conversation in the evening. We couldn't quite make out. We knew it was him, but then it was a hushed lady's tone. This is what they got, and that he was after this bracelet. They were after this bracelet. That is probably, flicking back like those days, that is definitely the most important thing they say about how much they love your trousers. That you always so nicely dressed in trousers, Tony. Hey, Critfail, how you doing? Thank you for joining us, man. How you doing? That aeroplane, by the way, looked amazing.
Well, we don't. I mean, we can't be certain, but we do have a candidate for who the lady might be. It's possible it is Camille. So it is reasonable to guess that as far as the sisters were concerned, the person who was most likely to have the bracelet is now dead. So it might have been on him when he was shot. He might have left it in his room, or Camille might have visited his room and taken it, and it might now be in her room. In any event, we do need to speak with Camille urgently. But I do have a question or two about the diary before we move on from this.
Please do.
When is the first mention of the bracelet? Is it the first night on the ship?
Yeah, so you've been on the ship. I can't remember exactly. It was like a 4-night trip, if I remember correctly. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before it was taken from you.
Okay.
The conversation of bracelet. There's this amazing bracelet. They've heard rumors of it. That
and that's okay. That's potentially useful information. So I'm wondering. Shirley overhears the captain speaking to me in my cabin. And during that, I tell the captain that the bracelet has been stolen. She doesn't necessarily know for certain, but she has a pretty good idea who might have taken it. So why does she run away rather than knock on the door and say, I couldn't help overhearing, I think Fisher has the bracelet? Or for that matter, I think Fisher and some woman were conspiring to steal the bracelet.
Perhaps she didn't want to be seen as a rude and as an eavesdropper.
But
or get herself involved in this situation if she's indeed innocent.
So she runs away, making enough noise by doing so that she actually reveals that she's been eavesdropping, which we weren't aware of before then. She could have just turned around, leant on the rail, and pretended that she hadn't heard anything. We'd never have known, would we? So not only does she run away, thus revealing she was eavesdropping, but something in the way she runs, something in what she's doing, something she says or whatever, leads to her being killed. And the only thing I can think of is when she gets to the lounge bar where she dies, she is confronted by someone she now knows to be a thief when she was perhaps expecting to find her sister there, maybe. And she says something. She gives away the fact that she now knows this person is the thief, and this person cannot be caught, so has to kill her. But why did she run away in the first place? It's only because she ran that it was suspicious.
We're not gonna learn by reading this notebook any longer.
No.
Let us be frank. There is no chance that even if she was, if she is the murderer, she would have written it down in her own journal.
No, I do have one other thing though. Is there an the way she writes about her dead sister? Does Stella, given that we are both academics used to interpreting documents, do we read into her words any sense of guilt over it? Does she feel any sense of responsibility?
Nice.
Knowing your academics and everything, the small amount she said about it, no, she doesn't appear to be guilty
All right.
in the situation. More that it's information that they've heard that they weren't privy to, I guess.
Yeah. So in essence, she feels that the loss of her sister isn't her fault, and it was just caught up in matters beyond their control.
Well, from what you can tell, the only time you've read anything after her sister died was she's dead, she's dead, she's dead. That it looks morningy. It's not like haha, she's dead. It's like woe is me kind of writing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. Then in that case, I think we've probably got, as you say, Rudi, all we can from the diary.
Let's go off to Camille's room then.
Camille. Where is Camille? I can't remember where her room is.
2 or 3. Let me double check. It is no, number 4. It's up the top. Number 4, around the corner.
Okay. Round the corner we go then, to find no doubt an empty cabin. Come on, Rudi, do your thing. Aha.
Yeah, I've already, embarrassed myself in front of Camille, so I don't mind doing it again. But this time I will try not to fall. Just the aha. Maybe I did fail because I didn't do the aha. Maybe the aha is a good thing.
Okay, you walk around the corner, and there is it's empty again, and there is her room and her door.
I barged in.
Roll a strength for me, please, Rudi.
Oh my god.
Get your +1 that I'm giving you.
Okay, that's a total of 8. 5 plus 2 plus 1.
Oh, good.
The beefy boy bonus. As you shoulder barge into the door, you sort of barge into it. Could you roll an agility for me, please?
Oh no! Oh no! Ace and a total of 2.
As you barge in, it's open from the inside, and you go sprawling heavily into the floor, crashing into a chair, and sort of breaking the chair under your weight as you fall awkwardly to the ground. This would be, you would think, the worst thing to happen to you in this room. It's awkward, it's painful, it's difficult. But potentially the worst thing, as the two of you enter the room, is that Camille Moulin is standing in her room. And she's not alone. She's standing there with 3 crew members. And they are all armed with German submachine Irma EMPs.
Ooh-wee. And I made that entrance in that room. Seriously?
As she sort of looks at you and she says, I was expecting you, Mr. Otto. I was expecting you, Mr. Guerrero. And as that door sort of opens, Tony, you hear sort of scuffling from behind you as out of the rooms either side, 3 and 5. There are 3 more crew members that come around, all with the submachine guns. And they're all pointing, so 6 machine guns and her, all pointing weapons at the 2 of you in the cabin.
Am I on the ground, like lower level? I'm fully have fully fallen, or
Um, yes, you are. You are on the ground.
I'm obviously going to reach down and offer Rudi a hand to help him up.
Okay, okay.
do the machine gun fellows have anything? Do they argue with that? They have a problem with me getting up?
No, they're happy. They seem very much in power. They're all sort of far away enough that they're feeling
They seem
safe.
very confident that they've got the upper hand here.
Yes, there's 6 of them and her surrounding you in this room. Yes.
But yeah, no, it's totally against us to start the fight right now.
Yes. Naturally.
So I say, gentlemen, to them.
I say, just as I expected.
In response to Rudy's gentlemen, he doesn't even get a nod or a smile off any of them. You recognise half of them. Half of them are people that have sort of served you during the evenings and the days. The other half you haven't. They might be sort of kitchen staff or people from down below.
We have been betrayed by the staff before in our previous adventures. We're not shocked about that.
And Tony, what did you
actually?
say?
Yeah, I give a look, a quick glance to Tony, like, and maybe I mouth the word the staff. Because,
Yep, I say to I say to Camille essentially, just as I expected.
She sort of smiles at you. Her demeanour's quite different actually from when you've met her before, which is a bit more cutesy and a bit more whatever. And she was like, "Well, I guess the odds got better for you as more people died."
Let me guess, Miss Camille. These men are members of Spanish Rebellion. Something out of character question. I'm not sure.
She's on Franco's side. She's always said politically that, and the Lebers said the Lebers were working for the Catalans, and they always said that she was interested in Frank. Your conversation, if you remember, you had a conversation with her about politics, and she showed loyalties towards that side and religion, I think.
Yes.
Well, I continue. For some reason, Rudi is not really afraid of the machine guns or the 6 men because we are in close quarters, and a machine gun is as good as he doesn't really feel threatened. He also wants to appear as he has the upper hand, so he puts his hand behind his waist as he takes the interrogation attitude again and says, "And I would guess that you gentlemen, and you, Camille, want this bracelet for your political gains."
I am invincible!
And isn't that so?
She smiles at you and she says, "Yes. You see, I'm sure I'm not telling you things you do not know by this point, but I am indeed here to take the bracelet myself and my fellow intelligence agents heard that the 2 of you had found the bracelet of Mary Magdalene in Morocco. We didn't believe it could be so, and Franco himself demanded that he needed this bracelet, that it would pull together the people of Spain under him for having this religious relic, this holy icon that would lead us to success against the rebellion and would push him stronger into power and make Spain the dominant superpower throughout the 30s and the 40s and beyond."
Maybe. But what if we told you?
Convinced by this.
But what if we told you that bracelet is in fact a fake?
She laughs at you a bit somewhat. She says, "Well, if it is a fake, why would you have travelled so long and hidden it so well, Mr. Guerrero? Hidden in your cabin so well. Why would you hide a fake?"
Well, if someone found it, they might identify it was a fake.
She smiles at the two of you, and she says, "Even if so, the people would not know this. They would never need to know this. And even if it was, the only people that believe it to be a fake are the people in this room, and that can
Ah,
be
yes,
taken
yes.
care of quite easily."
Yes, you can always tell who's got the best interests of the people at heart by those who are willing to hide everything from them.
um, she smiles. She says, "Speaking of hiding, you know, you could have chosen a better place in your cabin. It did not take myself or Mr. Fisher long to find it. Turned over a few things. We even we found it first. All the mess we caused afterwards, we just did for fun. We smashed
Perhaps,
bottles, threw clothes. That was just for the joy of
perhaps if you had asked,
it.
You
Rudy continues
destroyed.
to walk around you know, as long as they are letting him, he walks around. He's actually trying to find a way maybe to fight out of the situation. So maybe he gives, when he walks around and looks at Tony, the look like an maybe this, I don't know. But then again, uh, maybe he wants to diffuse the tension. What is Tony doing? How does he answer
Tony
Luke?
is responding by with very straightforward language, staring her down and saying, "You destroyed my trousers for fun."
Mr. Guerrero, I spent 3 nights watching you prance around in frankly ridiculous legwear.
How dare you? No need to turn this into a personal scuffle.
Let's just call it. It was a bonus. It was a bonus to our mission. Not something we had to do, but something. When you do serious missions, you have to take joy where you can. And I took great pleasure.
I, uh, I second that statement. I do so myself. But you see, he continues to walk around, and maybe this time he goes towards one of the, you know, machine gun wielding fellows that he thinks he can disarm the easiest or something. She's trying actually to find the most advantageous point to start the fight, if there can be one in this situation. But he continues. He continues and says, "Well, the truth is that this is indeed, as far as we are concerned, the original bracelet of Mary Magdalene, and we have spent years actually searching for it." Uh,
Well, that's why it seemed like a good idea to let the specialists do all the hard work, do what you're good at, and that we would do what we were good at. Now, unfortunately for Fisher, he was good at it, but my orders were to make sure that only one of us returned with the bracelet. As she was talking about that, you hear another um, another crew member comes in with another weapon, and
well, more.
and he shouts to her. He sort of, well, not shouts. He sort of leans over and says to her, "The the flying boat is arriving in about 50 minutes, Miss Milan, to take you." Um, and sort of heads out again, and she sort of nods, and she smiles to the two of you, and she says, Well, it looks like I'm off back to Valencia in about 50 minutes or so. Now, I know for you two, I've heard from crew that you've been been very interested in finding the bracelets and the whereabouts and so on. And I did hear that you were interested in looking through Mr. Fisher's cabin. Well, let me give you that opportunity now. Could you both roll an agility, please?
Yes, but I mean, not well. Because don't
It's
really
a
have that.
total of 7. It's the best I can do, really, with this
But yeah,
character.
right, that is
Oh, 7 as well.
Um,
It's the adrenaline pumping into Rudi that may.
as you say that,
Woo! Double sixes.
both of you sense sort of some of the crew coming from behind towards you, and you both manage to sort of dodge out the way of the first two as they're sort of reaching out for you to sort of grab at you. You manage to sort of shove a couple. There's a bit of a fracas, pushing, shoving, this and that. You're putting up a good fight briefly, but then both of you, very quick after another, feel the heavy impact of the butt of machine guns against the back of your heads, and you clump unconscious to the floor. Just as you're passing out, you sort of hear her say, "Drag them down to Fisher's cabin." With
Oh God!
down there with the rest of them, and then you black out at that point. And it's not long before you awake, because I'm not going to leave it until moment. Time is ticking now. You are on a clock, and you sort of you, Rudi, as you're sort of coming to, you feel this hand slapping across your cheeks. Hard. Mr. Otto, slap, slap. Mr. Otto, slap. You feel alcohol, like liquid, poured over your face, and you can taste it's sort of a whiskey on your lips as the slapping continues. Mr. Otto, wake up,
Colonel. I'm glad you're well.
And as you open your eyes, your wishes of the Colonel, the what looks like the Colonel's face, the dream, sort of blinks into focus, and it is Gonzalo Arrondo leaning over you, and it is dark. You can tell you are in a much less pleasant cabin. And
yes, I remember this. I recognize the smell. Is Tony there? Is Tony with us?
As you sort of slowly lift up, you do realize that you are in one of the downstairs cabins. And if she said Fisher's cabin, you can believe that you are in B1. And one of the cheaper cabins downstairs. And as you sort of slowly lift up, helped by Arrondo, and he's saying, I'd like to take it easy, Mr. Otto, but we need to rush. And he sort of drags you up. And as you're pulled up, you see Tony being pulled up in the room as well. And there's one more person in the room with you. And it is indeed, much to your delight, Mr. Otto, it is the Colonel. Colonel George Hightower is in the room. There are 4 of you in it.
That's what I smelled when I woke up.
Ah, Mr. Otto, pleasure to have you with us. You got clonked on the noggin as well, old bean?
He touches the back of his head, and the cowards. They were carrying submachine guns.
Ah, it's a rum do, I say. They caught me on the blind side, If I had a fair fight with them, I'd have knocked 6 of the blighters out. Maybe 8 in my younger days. You and me, Mr. Otto, we could take them on together, I feel.
Yes, of course we can, but do we have time? How long we have been passed out? There is another boat arriving in about. It depends what the time it is now. I check on somebody's watch to realize how many minutes we were out.
I would assume in your wonderful outfit, Mr. Otto, you would have a pocket watch, no doubt.
Probably, yeah, like a the how you call them, the watches that you hang them over here.
Like a fob
This,
watch.
A fob watch, yeah.
Yeah.
From what you can tell from the time past, you're probably, from the time you were knocked up, what you can guess, you're probably at it's probably in about 5 minutes. You've probably
Okay.
got about 45 minutes before.
So we have
this,
like 40
this
minutes or
ride-
so before the her ride arrives to take her out of here.
Yes.
Before we passed out, did we saw the bracelet on her? Like, did she show it to us?
No, she
No.
mocked us about it, but she didn't bring it out, I don't think.
Tony, you've been roused too, and maybe aroused by the Colonel, depending on how much you like him, I guess. But you are all there, propped up in the late Hugo Fisher's room.
I'm going to say to the people in the room that, firstly, thank you for helping me up. Secondly, we don't have a lot of time. And thirdly, I am beginning to suspect Camille is the guilty party on board the ship for the murder of the murderer, Fisher.
Yes, he admitted as much.
Indeed. So fundamentally, we don't know where everybody else is, and we don't know how many of them we can trust.
Arondo, who sort of seems to be together more than Hightower, I guess, he says, from what I can tell, after you guys headed off, sort of heading downstairs, wherever you went, you went. Everyone was sort of clearing up in the dining room, and these crew came in fully armed, and they came in with her, Camille, and they forced us all downstairs. They knocked a few out, they dragged it. Anyone that's tried to start a ruckus, they started. Alex Lebert, he got clonked. They went for Carla as well, but I got in the way. I've got to, I've looked after her. I look out for her, look out for both of them really. The Smiths, they went without any question. They were still in shock from the death, from the shooting, and they've bundled all of us down here. They've bundled us, any remaining crew. Like, I don't know. I saw they put 3 or 4 at a time into all these B cabins.
The captain? What is the captain doing?
The captain came down with us. We were B1. We were like the second lot we put in. I could hear others going. I saw 4 get put into B6. The Leberts got put into B6. There was a couple of crew went in with them. But after that, I'm just guessing. From what I can hear, and from what I hear, there's one or two crew with guns supposed to be looking. So the doors don't lock. These doors don't lock. So the door is unlocked. But the last time I tried to look out, there were 2 guys with guns out there, and he sort of smiles at you a bit, and he pulls up his trouser leg, and sort of flashes at you like an ankle holster, and he says, "And all I've got is one gun."
Have one gun, a handgun, against multiple firearms, and to my guess that it will be between 6 to 8 men, right?
It must be
GM, like
it must be
there
at
were
least
like
8.
6 in the room. Yeah, there must be like 8.
Yeah, there must be at least 8 if there were 2 guarding down here while there were 6 upstairs with us, and actually 7 at one point. So
the odds are definitely against us. This is one of the worst hands we have been dealt with ever, Tony.
It's true. But, I mean, when have the odds ever been in our favor?
That's also
We're always outnumbered. We're supposed to be outnumbered. A couple of quick questions about the cabin. Is there a porthole?
No, you are down. You are down in the cheap seats, and this is underwater at this point. These are the ones. These are the very low ones.
Okay. We're going to get a little bit of warning when the flying boat comes close, because they're going to have to stop the ship in order to slow down enough. And it takes a while to slow down a big ship. I mean, I know this isn't a very big ship, but it's still big enough. It's going to take a few minutes.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a little bit of warning, which will help us. But I'm fairly convinced that if we can get word out to the relevant authorities, the right people, we can turn this ship into a floating prison for all of them. This is
Lollygaggers. Hey.
Hello, Lollygaggers.
I saw you were playing Orbital Blues. I'm going to chase you up about it later, if that's okay, because I'm fascinated. I want to see how you went with it, because that's quite exciting. As a channel that plays it, I want to talk with you about it. We'll do that in a bit, if that's okay, or tomorrow or something. I don't know. I'll message you. I don't know. I'm just fascinated. Anyway, sorry, Karen. We're playing us. They're on a boat, the SS Cans. It's the 1930s. Rudi and Tony have just discovered who the killers are. They've got the bracelet. They're going to take back to Franco to swerve the war. And Tony and Rudi, who the bracelet kind of belongs to them, I guess. They're treasure hunters, but they're kind of the goodies. They've been locked in a cabin downstairs with an old English drunkard general and a sort of an unknown quantity. And they're sort of going to try and escape. They've got 45 minutes before the seaplane, the flying boat, is going to arrive and whisk away the big bad. Anyway, yes.
So, is there a way we can get a message? I mean, we are not very far from a direct route between Gibraltar and Malta. We are not that many miles off the coast of southern France. And either the Royal Navy or the French Navy would be powerful allies to see hiving into view over the horizon right now. If we can get a message to them, that could be very handy. But I can't think of anything we can do until we get out of this cabin.
Perhaps we can stop the ship, and I'm having some ideas, but I don't want to risk the safety of the innocent passengers of this ship, like starting a fire probably, or shutting down the engine, destroying them. But I would guess that they will be guarding them as well. Have you seen, Colonel, where these men are right now?
The Colonel sort of he looks quite excited to be part of something. I guess his life's quite boring generally nowadays since he retired. And he's like, well, when we came down, from what I can tell, there is maybe a couple down here, a couple of the blighters, and other than that, I think they just seem to be moving around in a horrible mass of evil, quite frankly, following that blasted woman around, doing her evil works. So I don't know. I think if we get past these two, perhaps, I don't know where the rest are. I guess preparing. Did you say a flying boat? Preparing for a flying boat, perhaps, then, to get her off.
Yes.
If you need me, oh, I'm right there with you. Right behind you. Of course, behind, of course. But I'm right there.
As you should be, Colonel. Right. Yes, we're going to need you. We're going to need everybody we can get. So, we can open the door, but there's going to be 1, 2, 3 guys out there with guns. If we can open the door sufficiently quietly...
I won't be doing that then.
We could at least, try and peer around the corner and see if we can see how many are there. But I've got to say, my temptation is to do the opposite. What if we stay completely silent, yank the door open and let it slam open, but then nobody comes out, nobody makes a sound?
To lure them in.
You think there's a chance they'll come and investigate why the door was open, and they'll get close enough that we can grab one, overpower him, get a gun, and then it becomes easier, right?
Arondo.
I know which part I will be doing this in this scenario.
Arondo thinks about it for a while, and he sort of he says, "It could work, as long as we really go for it. If they come to the door, we really need to commit 100%.
Yeah,
I'd imagine it will get them close to us. Last I heard, though, from the sounds of it, they were out past the end, past the toilets by the steps. So they've got a bit of a walk over. But if they get here, that's us all in. That's getting out or death,
Yeah, it's just if we open the door and stick our head out, they're just going to tell us to stick our heads back in. But if we slam the door open and then nothing happens, eventually they'll come along and investigate, right?
It sounds like good logic to me.
This is the thinking, anyway.
Curiosity always prevails.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
We've got to stop this.
So we will take positions close to the door, but at an angle where, as they approach down the corridor, they won't be able to see anyone, if you see what I mean, until they're right at the door.
Yes.
So we'll stay on the stairs side, and then I'm sure Rudi will take the position right by the door.
The door
Yes,
opens,
exactly.
The door opens inwards, but from the looks of it, you'll be able to slam it enough, and they'll be able to see it, and it would make a scene, if that makes sense. Or confuse them at nothing else.
And if they hear anything, they'll look up and see what's going on, and then if they peer down there, they'll be able to see that it's not closed, won't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I trust, Mr. Arondo, you know how to use this firearm you're carrying.
He sort of smiles at you and he sort of removes it, and he says, I suppose I should come clean somewhat. I am here on this ship for a reason. I am in intelligence, and I am here to protect the Lebers, and I'm here to make sure that Miss Moulin does not get her way. We were concerned, and I've got a lot of information that I need to get back to France. We've been looking for a long time, and if you two can be part of helping me make sure I complete my mission, I can put in so many good words for you in France and across Europe that you would be comfortable for the rest of your lives.
This is first we have to survive this, and then we will
he smiles.
share the spoils of war.
Well, that's the easy part. Come on, men like
Yeah.
you, men of action, men of daring do. I've heard of your boxing records, Mr. Otto. 10-0, I've heard.
One of them a train.
9-0 actually. But yes, it's good to know that we have a trained marksman on our side. Perhaps, yes, Colonel, stay behind me and follow my lead when the battle begins.
Yeah. So essentially, close to the door, we're going to have just one person, because if we had two standing there, they might be visible from around the corner. But as soon as you step a bit further back into the room, we're probably going to have room for a couple. So the obvious thing to do is for Rudi to stand right by the door, me behind Rudi, so that once he's fully engaged with the person, I can bundle out after him, and our pistol-wielding intelligence officer just slightly next to me, so he's got a bit of a view into the corridor.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Makes sense.
And then the colonel can line up behind us.
Okay. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Yes.
Okay. You don't need any skills to open the door. It's a door. It opens.
Excellent.
Even Rodi's not going to fall over doing this. And the door swings open with a clang. And there's a moment. And then you hear from the steps a slight whispering. And then you hear a shout out, "You in B1. Close that door." I'm warning you, close that door. This is your last chance. If we come here, we've been told that we can kill you. It'd be a shame.
I am invincible!
What's that? Crit fail is because it's not me opening it. If it was me, I'd have to make a roll. But and then you hear two sets of footsteps walking over. One seemingly quicker and closer than the other, from what you can tell. You see a Rondo who sort of has got sort of half an eye. He can sort of at least see movement, I guess. And he sort of taps at you guys and he sort of holds out his finger so you can see like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as he hits 0, the first figure comes into view around the doorway and turns to look in the door.
I guess when I have a clear sight of the weapon, because I'm gonna try to disarm using my cane, like hit them on the hands so that they drop their machine gun. So tell me when I'm within range to do that.
As he hits 0.5, that says he's he's walked up right close to the door, and you are within the range. So I tell you what. We're going to do our first ever initiative-based combat in this whole adventure.
Fantastic.
In this adventure, yes.
I have no idea how to do that.
No,
I can't remember.
no, York and I, it's been so long. We're so anti-combat. Could you roll a 1d6 and add your agility, please? And I bet.
Oh, come on. Okay. That's like 1 and 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2.
2.
But I'm
Oh dear. I'll do for the others as well.
actually I'm thinking of maybe spending Kelly's boon, or should I
Yeah,
spend
this
it
would
on
be
the
a good time
disarm?
to do it.
Go for it.
Maybe I should spend it on the disarm rather, because I cannot reach any high initiative, to be honest.
Ben, what did you get?
It's plus agility, is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's a total of 6.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna keep the boon for the disarm. That's
Okay,
what
so
I'm thinking.
You're going to hold out for now. Okay. Tony, could you roll 1 more d6, please? You have to you've hit the same as someone else, and then you re-roll ties.
Okay, I've got a 4.
Okay. The person you tied was the colonel, so it's not that bad a thing.
Okay, not that big a deal, yeah.
So, in this order, the first person up is Tony.
Oh,
You can see, so as it comes through, there are 2 guys walking towards you. The first one has just approached around the corner of the door. You don't have as brilliant aim as Rudi does because of where he is, but you can see his body.
can I actually interact with? I mean, can I get to him in my turn if I'm?
Yeah, you're not far away.
Okay. Then what I'm going to try to do. This is very risky. I'm going to try to actually grab the gun and use it to pull him into the room.
Yoink.
I mean, if he lets go of the gun, that's fine. But if he doesn't, he's coming into the room. That's my plan.
Okie dokie. We're going to do a hand-to-hand. And
oh boy.
Yeah.
in a hand to hand, it's a 1d6 plus your strength,
Oh God.
and I don't think you've got a bonus I can give you. Yours is stabbing bonus.
It
Daring
is.
do.
It is daring do.
Oh,
It
it
is
is
very
daring. It is
daring.
daring do. Grabbing
It's
someone.
got to be daring do,
Okay,
surely.
yoinking someone in by the weapon. Yeah, it's the whole situation is very daring do. So 1d6 plus strength plus daring do, please. And they roll.
Okay,
as
so that's a
well.
total of +3. That's not too bad.
Okay. They're rolling as well. Okay.
Okay, that's 5 plus 3 is an 8.
Oh,
Yes.
they got a 7. So they
Oh,
rolled quite well.
Woo.
So they won. You grab them by the weapon and you pull them in. Now they don't let go of it, so they get hoiked into the room to the jackals. Basically, they're sort of staggered in. They're clinging desperately onto the gun. I don't know if that's their training or whatever, but yeah, they're pulled in, and Tony's achieved it. Which is Tony's turn for this turn. All
Okay.
the turns in Dark Places we're playing are quite short in that regard. The next person up is the Colonel, who immediately swings a bottle at the man's head. An empty bottle. He wouldn't waste a full one.
It is the weapon of preference.
It's how he
The
armed
weapon of
himself.
preference.
He was sort of hiding behind Tony with the bottle up, and he swings it at the man's head. Which I'll make roll for that and make roll for him. And he hits it. He hits the guy across the top of the head with a loud smash, and the bottle explodes, and it cuts the man's head open, and the man staggers onto his knees, but he's not out cold. It staggered him, if that makes sense. He's sort of, he's sort of down onto one knee.
Mm-hmm.
The Colonel's like, "Yes, Blighter, gotcha. I'll teach you to mess." Then next up is the guy coming from further away, and his action. I will see what he's going to do. He rushes towards the door. His turn is rushing towards the door and raising his weapon, and sort of shouting at you, sort of after his friend.
So there are two of them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's sort of chasing to the door and he's sort of shouting after his friend, Marcus! Sort of aiming up the gun into the room at the kerfuffle that's going on. So he's right on top of you for the next turn. Next up is quite some bad rolls after this. The next one is in fact Rudi Otto. Believe it or
Really?
not. Yes, on a 2. Believe it or not.
And now Arondo?
He's I can't tell you when, but he's going to be one of the 2 after this. Rondo is still there aiming. He's still in the doorway.
I will use everything I have and disarm the second person who entered. Yes, it's time for a disarm. What I mean disarm is not with finesse. I'm gonna hit him with everything I have, but my goal would be to disarm him. Okay.
Hit him again, Mr. Otto.
Okay.
I tell the colonel, now you will see.
So as opposed to Tony, who was grabbing the gun, whatever, you're going for the disarm, whatever. So if it fails, you totally miss. Simple as that. Okay, you're putting everything into disarming him.
Yes.
Okay, then please could you roll a hand-to-hand 1d6 plus your strength, and I will give you your fighting skills.
Yes. So it's 4 bonus, and the roll is 4. That's a good one. I don't think I need to spend the boon. 8 is success, right?
Yeah, it's a face-to-face roll, but he has not got anywhere near that roll.
All right. All right.
You sort of lean in with your cane, and you
Have at it.
you smash it hard into like his wrists, and he instantly drops his submachine gun onto the floor.
Excellent.
Screams out in pain.
If I can, with my feet, I want to kick it far away. Make sure he's not gonna grab it the next second again.
Roll an agility for me, please.
Oh no! Okay, no. It's a 5, and I don't think that I can even be successful, even if I wanted to.
Though that is enough that you don't fall over. At least that's good.
Good.
Thankfully, yeah.
You sort of as he sort of knocks it down with his knee, he tries to sort of catch the gun almost as it's falling to nudge it towards Arroyo, something like that. But you don't really achieve it. It just sort of drops off your foot and onto the floor. But no harm is
Okay.
done, except to him who got hit. Next up is the guy who's just been smashed overhead with the bottle, and he charges into Tony.
Okay.
So could you please make an opposed roll for strength, please?
Can I have daring do for this?
It is very exciting. I'll let you have daring do for this.
Yeah. Okay. So that's +3. Which is a mere 5.
A 5. Well, you outrolled him because I'm not telling you his skill, his stats and that, but he rolled a 1.
Okay.
It's sort of desperate. His head is spinning from the glass, and the blood is trickling down sort of the side of his head. He sort of charges into you, charges for your body, but as he crashes into you, you're sort of able to spin him and sort of throw him into the wall behind you, and he sort of crashes into through a bit of furniture. The furniture down is very cheap compared to upstairs. It's very basic, and he just crunches into this terrible wooden desk, really badly made wooden desk, and he sort of crunched down in a minute, not unconscious, but he's definitely not on his feet.
Okay.
Which leads to Arroyo, who raises.
Well, he's the only armed person right now, right?
Yep. He has. In fact, he's raised his revolver, and he fires it straight into the second guy, the outside guy that you've just disarmed, from almost point blank range, right into his head. Very professional shot, and the bullet explodes out of the weapon and blows a very neat hole in the side of the man's skull, splattering blood up against the floor and against the wall opposite, and the guy hits the ground immediately. The loud bang rings out. It echoes around downstairs. You're definitely not in stealth mode.
Yes, so much for stealth.
Okay.
He is down.
Rudi is kind of shocked. Like, I didn't expect him to kill them. I expect him to tell them surrender. But oh well.
They made their bed. They'll lie in it. You're saying. We're still in combat just, but it is back to the Colonel. The other guy is all crumpled over. No, it's back to Tony. Actually, Tony was first. All that's left is the guy that's crumpled over, but he's still conscious, trying to pull himself out of the table. Remains.
I'm going to pick up the submachine gun that he's dropped.
Yep.
And he's getting that stroked very firmly across his head.
Oh, okay. So we will go for that. Is going to be a hand-to-hand, but with a weapon that's a +2 damage because that's a big beefy thing. Okay, roll a 1d1, 1d6 plus your strength. This is not daring do anymore though.
It isn't. Okay.
It's just bullying.
Oh right, this is just beating someone. Okay. I rolled a 4. +2 is a 6.
Okay, and he tries to reach up with his hands to sort of cover, but he does not get his hands up enough. It's a bit pitiful, and you slam the butt of the submachine gun into his head, and he crumples out cold. And you're left with a dead body, and what is probably at best an unconscious, but you can't tell immediately. His head is blooded and he's out cold.
Sure.
Question: which stat do you use to fire weapons?
So the stat for firing weapons is agility plus any
And I say
shooting bonus, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I say to Tony, perhaps you should give that machine gun to the colonel, who I believe.
Even if I'm allowed to use my my fighting with weapons bonus, I'm still only a 2 with my agility of 1.
You've got to roll high even just to have a chance of hitting, haven't you? So
yes. So I will do that indeed. Hand the weapon to the colonel.
Okay. The Colonel. Oh yes. By the way, Ben's just vanished graphically, but he'll come back. He's still here. You can hear him. It's just his picture goes there. It is in Roll20 sometimes. The
Like it
Colonel.
seems to move or something. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
it's really strange. The Colonel takes it from you with a sort of a smile, and very, very professionally and very, very skillfully, betraying the years he spent in the Force. He sort of quickly checks the ammo cartridge, sort of like pulls it, clicks it, bangs it into place, does everything that you'd expect a well-trained person to do. And he sort of looks at the man and sort of gives him a kick while he's down. He says, "Ah, blasted rotter! Come on, each of you, give him a kick. He deserves it."
I just
No,
hit him in
this is
the head
a-
with a gun. I'm done.
This is a small victory, but the true battle lies ahead, Colonel Hightower. Now I see that you are armed, and we may escape this cell and see what's going on outside. The gunshots, I turn and look at Mr. Arondo and I say, would have has destroyed our any chance of being stealthy, and our element of surprise is gone now.
No, don't worry about that. I've got two people that might be able to help us out a little. And he rushes across and starts pulling open the other doors. And he gets down to sort of straight to B6. And he pulls it open and he says, "Alex, Carla, are you two okay? Come on, we're taking the ship." And quickly after that, Alex and Carla Bear seem to spring out and they appear at the doorway, looking at the. There are boons. Quickly, they're available. Looking at the mess on the floor and the sort of the dead, bloodied face. And Alex looks at Arondo, sorry, and he goes, I'm guessing this is your handiwork that I heard." And Arondo sort of smiles and nods, and throws Alex the gun.
Good. So the Colonel's got one. Alex has got one. And we have our enthusiasm and our genuine belief that we're better than everybody. So I'm sure that will carry us through.
Yeah. Cool. So Alex looks at you guys and he says, "Where do we need to go, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto? What's the plan?"
Have we opened up all of the doors down in this section? Have we got everyone out?
Aronda have been doing it. Sort of, we've been pulling them open, and little by little, you've got sort of a mix. So you're not going to get any help out of. And they've people come out, and you've got everyone that was missing. Stella is indeed in there. Manuel Ruiz is in fact in there as well, looking horrific. And the person that came out of the room with him, there was a couple of crew that came out with him, and they immediately run out of the room as he sort of staggers out after them, sick down his chin. It must have been horrible being stuck with him. The elderly couple come out. There's some crew members that come out. How much help you'd get from any of these?
I suggest them, to stay in their chambers. There's going to be a lot of shooting, as I tell them. Even though Rudy's unarmed, he will take the front and the lead because I have two boons now. So luck is on my side.
Yeah.
And then I suggest we go towards like the engines, maybe to stop the ship. Tony, what are you thinking? Where we should go next?
From where we are, let me just orient myself. The kitchen doesn't lead anywhere, does it?
No.
So
the one thing they do have in the kitchen is they've got what they called the lift that goes straight up and down. The little one for putting food.
Like a dumbwaiter.
A dumbwaiter, yeah.
I'd like to go into the kitchen if possible and find myself the closest thing I can to a sword.
It's getting tooled up.
We're obviously talking a large carving knife or something like that.
So as you do that, Rudi looks at his clock, and there's about 35 minutes max before. Tony rushes in. Could you roll a... Oh, you've got stabby skills, so you know what's good for stabbing. So could you please
Yeah.
roll your +1 stabby plus your education for me, please?
Yes, that I can do. In fact, that should be good because that's a +5 total.
Okay, so that's about as good as you're going to get.
And that's a 4 that I rolled, so that's a 9.
You've got options of a couple of things. You've got a rather horrible looking meat cleaver, still dripping with that's obviously been used but not quite cleaned yet. You've got a carving knife, and you've got a couple of large kitchen knives.
The carving knife is ignoring the cleaver, is the carving knife the longest and heaviest of those knives?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going for that one then. I don't think you can easily parry with a cleaver, but you might have a shot with a carving knife. So I'm going for that. And then I'll take a quick glance at that dumbwaiter. Is it rope controlled?
Yes.
And is it large enough for a person?
It depends what person. It's not large enough for Rudi. His belly's full of boons. He can't get for the dumbwaiter. Yes, a small person though. Rudi, no. The general, no. You, maybe.
Yeah.
Alex and Carla, probably a rondo similar to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big problem is whoever went up in it would have to be armed with a gun anyway, and it would probably have to be a rondo because there wouldn't be room to maneuver an SMG in there.
And basically, the dumbwaiter pulls you up at the end of the dining room, the
Yeah.
far end of the dining room.
So I'm guessing that's a red herring. I don't think we can use that realistically. Rondo's going to want to stay with Alex and Carla, isn't he?
Yes, you would imagine.
So it looks to me like the thing we need to do urgently is get up onto the deck. You agree?
Agreed.
So we either go up together or we split up.
No, there is strength in numbers. We shouldn't split in this moment. All go together. Follow my lead.
Follow my lead.
Okay.
Given the colonel runner.
Rudi is enthusiastic, and as you know, Tony is always happy to follow Rudi into peril. So yes, we will basically charge up those front stairs straight up to the main deck.
Actually, before we leave, can I take like the top of I'm missing some words here, like lost in translation, I guess. How do you say that? Well,
like a pan?
Yes, maybe like I want to use like a pan, like a shield,
Okay, yeah, like
something like it.
They will have a really big like soup pan, like a big one for like serving the whole like all of you. So you're looking at it's probably going to be about 70 centimeters each way. It's a big.
Ooh, big,
probably a bullet will go through, but it will maybe protect a bit. So I guess I will take that, and but no knives or other. Rudy's no pro murder that much. He would rather knock someone out than blow their brains out. But he takes a shield and he goes in the front. And tell us who's next.
But you have because Arondo knows the time as well now. He's also checking. He's like, right, got 30 minutes. 30 minutes before she goes. We need to stop this now. And him and the colonel and the LeBears pile in behind you. Tony had said he was going to as well, I think.
Yep.
So and you're by the stairs at this end to go up.
Yep. Okay. Well, experience tells me Rudi only has one speed when it comes to action. I suspect he's going to lead us in a charge.
Yes, he's storming in front.
Okay, off you go. We're all right behind you.
Okay, can you both roll an agility roll for me, please?
Oh God.
Oh no. You know what? I'm gonna spend one of the boons.
Okay.
It's time. Spend it and wait. It didn't roll.
That's a total of 6, unless I can have daring do.
No.
It's only 5.
Um, that's all right.
Best.
I just wanted to check that in your excitement, you both weren't just going to like fall on the stairs. You both
Okay.
did well enough to not fall on the stairs, and
Oh
you
god.
bundle up the stairs onto like by the shuffleboard court. So
Mhm.
bang the doors open, ready to go, and immediately as the door bangs open, um, you see two enemy, one either side of the dining room, sort of that had been sort of just patrolling around the deck, looking out over for the flying bow and just looking around. And as the doors bang open, they turn to both of you, but you all have one chance in initiative before they react, if that makes sense, because you call
Okay.
it by. So, quick, I'll let you both decide what you're going to do, and then if everyone's still alive, we'll roll an initiative from there.
All right.
It's
So
pretty straightforward for Rudy. He has done it before on a train last time. I'm gonna bull rush. It's like someone standing and they have a window behind them or something.
They are by the railing. So if you look at the map, you've got two where it says the dining room.
Mhm.
The left side corner of the dining room. So the two corners closest to you, they are on that the walkway. So they're between the dining room and the edge of the boat, and they're right at the corner, both of them, either side.
okay.
So Rudy's gonna sprint with his shield in front and attempt to bull rush someone, and if possible, like throw them off the ship. Like I'm gonna use all his size and strength and momentum to do that.
Fantastic. For you, I'd like you to use your. Right, we're going to do two things, okay? Um, your first thing I need you to do is agility plus fighting,
Agility. Oh,
but plus your +2 for your fighting.
okay. Total 3 and 2. Oh, wait. What did it roll for? Maybe I will spend the second boon. What is the just to
This is for charging over to them.
yeah, boon spent. No more boons.
Okay.
Rolling with everything I have. Still not great. It's 6. Total of 6.
Okay, a 6 will be enough to get over to them. So he bull rushes with a cry or whatever. He sprints across past the shuffleboard, avoiding the the down shuffles and the little quoits that they knock around, diving towards the dining room at the guard who's just sort of turning as Rudi crashes into him, not quite as well as he'd like to, but with the chance to like barge him over the edge. You're going to need to hit a higher amount because you didn't hit him as well as you'd like to, if that makes sense, agility wise. So this is for the strength to see if you can knock him into the ocean. That will be strength plus fighting, but you need to hit a 9.
Oof, oof.
I need 5 or 6. Ouch.
So it's
Okay.
strength plus fighting, yeah.
Well. 12. No, I don't actually hit that. It's 7.
7. Okay, you crash into him, and you sort of knock him against the sort of the edge of the sort of the ship, but he sort of leans back against it, sort of nearly over the back, but you don't quite get him over, and instead he slumps down on the ground on that side of the ship, still on the walkway. That's yours, Rudi, for this pre-turn. Tony, how about you?
Not actually that different. I'm going after the other guy. The way I imagine it in my head is we sort of burst out of the quite wide staircase, shoulder to shoulder, and split one each side.
Ah!
Yeah, just full on charge. Yeah, I'm going after the other guy. I'm going to charge across and take the firm hold of the grip end of my improvised sword and put the other end inside the person with a great deal of vigor, as much as I can manage. I slash right across the middle of him.
Okay, first of all, could you, for making your ground across, could
Mhm.
you do agility plus daring do, please?
Agility plus daring do. This could go horribly badly. Not great. 6.
Okay, you make it across, not as perfectly as you would like to. You're going to need to hit an 8 for this one. If you'd have done it very well, I might have given you a 7 or a 6.
Right,
But
and this is strength plus fighty.
plus your fighty plus daring do. It's very daring.
Okay, so I can have strength, fighty, and daring do.
Yep. So you've got across to him. You're sort of reaching out to stab into him.
Okay. So plus 4 total.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a 6. So
Ah.
that's 10.
And as he's sort of turning,
Double digits.
Tony gets across and sort of just as the guy's front on turning the weapon to you, he's met by Tony putting his hand on his shoulder as he reaches across, and with the knife just thrusting it straight into him, just to add insult to injury, twisting it as it goes in,
Of course.
and then tugging it back open again, tugging it back out again as he goes. And there's like a look of shock on the guy's face. He sort of looks down. There's nothing for a minute. Then blood starts spreading out across his front, and then he just drops down to the ground dead.
As he falls, naturally, I will take his submachine gun and throw it over my shoulder. I don't have a target for it at the moment, but I will take it with me at least.
Fantastic. At this point, seeing that Rudi is sort of crashed the guy down, the next person bursting out is let me roll for who the next one is. Okay, it's Alex. Alex comes out. He raises the weapon, and with Rudi a bit too close for comfort still, he fires it.
Good luck.
Sort of, I'm guessing Rudi sort of like covering away, like squeezing into the wall or whatever. But you're lucky to see a 6, which with his gun skills is excellent. So Rudi feels a few bullets sort of thudding into the deck in front of him as it sort of thud, 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 thud. And as it thuds, you see the body next to you sort of like jerk and spasm a few times as it sort of hit Swiss cheese by the machine gun. And the body next to you that you knocked to the ground is also very, very dead.
That's 4 down.
That's
At least the same again to go.
Yep. At this point, you hear shouting from above on the lounge bar, and you see Rudi. You see a figure as you're sort of looking up. A couple of figures lean over the edge and try and shoot downwards. They don't really have the angle, but they're sort of leaning out from upstairs trying to shoot down at you.
I still have my shield, I guess.
Yep.
Well, what can you do? I don't think I can do anything for bullets being arrayed down upon us, except maybe get in the way that they will. If they hit someone, it will be Rudi and not someone else.
So just by moving the angle they've got, you can get out of the line of it relatively easy because they're up and it's no wider, so they can only just strafe the edge of the deck. So if you stay to the middle, they can't get you.
Okay, I don't want to be shot. So if it's possible, I will try to avoid the bullets. But if we are within the range, he will get that heroic sacrifice, self-sacrifice that we're talking about. But no, he doesn't really want to. If there is another way, he will try to evade it.
I'm not even going to make you roll an agility for it because the bullets, from what I rolled, weren't getting close enough to you. It's just enough to freak Rudi out a bit. As he rolls in, the colonel, seeing the gunfire coming down, shouts, They're firing at Otto! How dare they! Upstairs, everyone! Let's finish the job! And he thunders up. They burst back in through those double doors and like carry on up to the top, followed by the others. And Alex looks to the two of you, says, "Come on, let's finish it."
Yeah, what he said. Yes, I'm absolutely thundering up to join them. Given the number of bodies up there, I'm not going to try to use the submachine gun. I'm just going to go up there to help as best I can. Because we could end up with a lot of friendly fire if I unleash a submachine gun in a crowded room.
If we were rolling with agility, yes, same.
Are you following up as well, Rudi? You following up?
Actually, yeah, Rudi, I just checked and to show that my best stat is charisma, and I'm thinking I should use that, and I will yell that that you are outnumbered. Surrender now, and there will be no more people dying tonight.
Right. I'm going to make you
So-
roll for it, and this is something that we need to keep in mind. Okay, so could you please roll your?
Yeah, honestly, Rudi doesn't want anyone else to die, even them. So he will try to, turn to reason
Okay.
if they can be reasoned with. Nope, it's a 1.
Okay, so charisma.
A total of 5.
4 + 1 is 5. Okay.
Yeah.
You shout, and there's the machine. The gunfire goes quiet for a second, but there's not like they've not thrown their guns down from what you can tell. But so is Rudi's following them up as he shouts?
Yes, and then he says, "Very well then, gentlemen, you have made your choice. May God be with you."
As the two of you, you're sort of following after the others. They're sort of a bit ahead of you because you were a bit further away. And as you're making your way up the stairs, the two of you hear machine gun fire above you. Sort of you're one flight below, and everyone else, the LeBears and the Rondo and Hightower, have sort of got up there above you. And you're sort of seeing the flashing above you of like gunfire and that. And okay. And suddenly it falls silent. And as the two of you reach the door and look out, you see your 4 allies all sort of knelt down, sort of cover around the door. And you see the dead bodies of 2 more crew.
Okay.
And you see 2 more stood with their hands in surrender. It seems like a mixture of that and Rudi shouting may have done something.
Excellent.
At this point, you very much notice that the engine has indeed cut, and you can hear in the distance a low drone of what might be this vehicle coming to get Camille.
All right, Rudi will shout once again. Can you Camille? What's her name? The last name?
Yeah, Camille Moulin.
No. Camille, Miss Camille Moulin. This is the end of the voyage, I'm afraid, for you, and you're not going to escape on that. You're not going to escape the way you thought you would. Listen, what we're going to do. Can you hear me? I'm trying to make sure that she's hearing me.
You hear from out in the moon deck. The doors, the curtains are closed, but you hear from the moon deck shouted out Camille's voice. You hear, "Yes, Mr. Otto, I hear you clearly. Your time is running out. What do you want?"
We want the thing that we have been after for years. The bracelet, of course.
You hear a pause. And she says, "You want the bracelet? I thought it was a fake, Mr. Otto."
No, that was a bluff. But I'm not bluffing now when I say that these men that are with me are vicious killers and they will kill you if need be. I wouldn't want that for any of you, and I regret that people died tonight, but there's no reason for anyone else to die. Please consider reason. Please consider your own survival. and we. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Could you roll a charisma check for me, please?
Yes. This is gonna be a good roll. I have a good feeling for it. It's a total of 9. Sorry, 8. Total of 8.
That is a good roll. His
It's
words
a good.
seem to play weight. You notice the two that have surrendered. There's a look in their eyes that they've sort of failed. You know what I mean? That there's no way through this.
Mm.
The 4 colleagues you've got are sort of still there, but they've lowered their weapons a little because the vibe seems to have changed a little in the room. And there's a pause, and the door swings open, and Camille walks out into the far end of the lounge bar.
First, is he armed? The second, does he carry the bracelet?
She does. Could you both roll education for me, please?
Yep.
Mhm. Ooh, 8 again.
5.
Well, lucky for you, Tony, Rudi is there.
Okay.
Always. And you do not notice a weapon. She does not have a weapon in her hands. She does not have a weapon in front of her that you can tell of. That's all you can see, of course. She does appear to have the bracelet on her wrist. And she comes out sort of, she sort of opens her arms out, sort of low opening up to the two of you. And she says, Mr. Rotto, Mr. Guerrero, the Lebers, Mr. Arondo, if that is indeed your real name, and the Colonel. The plucky band come to get back this small trinket and all this murder that you have done in order to get it. It must mean a lot to you.
Am I close enough to punch her at that point?
No, you're across the room.
Oh, damn it.
Mr. Guerrero, it looks like you wish you could punch me.
I'm within machine gun range.
we all have the reasons to do it, but I approach her with my hands open. As you see, I am unarmed, and I do not wish you harm, and that is the truth, Miss Camille.
As you sort of step towards her, start stepping towards her, she sort of steps back a little bit towards the doorway, and she stops and she holds her arm out towards you. It's like in a stop motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like with a hand open stop.
Mm-hmm.
She says, just stop there, please, Mr. Otto. Stop there. I praise you all for getting out. That was very impressive. I didn't expect it. I should have expected more.
Dankeschön.
But it is not all over. You see, I still have the bracelet. And if indeed the ancient myths are true, it is a power of great power. And you see, it would be a shame for this to end without putting that to the test. And she reaches out her hand and points towards the Colonel. And you suddenly hear a gasping from the Colonel, and you look around, and the man has dropped his weapon, and he's clutching at his heart like a severe heart attack, sort of squeezing at it, his face contorted in pain and agony. Can't breathe, can't get his voice out. Takes a gasp, his face just turns instantly white, and he collapses to the floor, dead.
No! Okay.
Not the Colonel. I'm going to miss him.
But we did witness something supernatural, right?
Yes. That was possibly not the way the word's usually used, but a miracle of some kind. Yes.
It's uh, like have we for the all the time that we had it, that it was in our possession, have we like felt anything weird? Like
No, none of you have. It's not been the sort of size that you could wear. It's a bit smaller, I guess, but held in your
yeah.
hands and that, and turning it over, it's just felt like a standard sort of relic.
Yeah, we wouldn't wear it because like it's an heirloom, it's like an artifact, an important thing. We wouldn't wear it. But
Exactly. It's much more.
have we ever heard that it could do something like that?
In the ancient writings of it was that the person that had it could wield great power and could turn a lot of people to them, and sort of it could be. It's a very powerful, not such a weapon as such, but a really powerful, relic.
Yes.
Rudy's shocked. He shouts no. And then he's going to check on the colonel. Maybe, hold him behind his head. Like, maybe give him a CPR to save his life.
You check, and it's weird. The second you check, his body is it's stone cold. It's ashen. It's withdrawn. It is almost supernatural, like in his deadness. It's like he's been dead a year.
Yeah. What have you done? I tell you.
And she sort of looks at the bracelet, slightly surprised, and then she looks to all of you, and she walks back towards. She sort of turns her back and walks towards the moon deck.
I'm raising the submachine gun, and I'm going to order her to stop.
She's probably heard you, but she ignores you, and she's sort of into the doorway.
Then I'm afraid I'm pulling the trigger. If no one else is, I'm going to. Okay. Despite my incompetence with a gun.
Could you please fire a 1d6 plus your agility, please?
Yep.
You're gonna shoot all of us.
Yep, I can do that. Probably very badly, but I can do that. God. It's only a 7.
Okay.
Oh, that's actually great.
You sort of aim and you think you've got a good chance of hitting her. You fire, and she sort of pauses as you let off a sort of a burst of fire. And then when the firing stops, she sort of pauses a bit longer, and you look to see if she's going to collapse or anything. And then she just continues walking forwards out onto the deck.
Did the bullets actually hit her?
You can't really tell. There
Obviously
are bullets
not
around
visibly.
the doorway. There are bullets around the doorway, but whether they actually hit and it's supernatural or just didn't hit.
When we liberated the people down below, did we liberate the captain?
The captain was indeed liberated.
Okay. So, I'm going to say to the other people in the room who are now ludicrously well armed, because we've ended up with more submachine guns than we actually have people to carry them, I think. We could hear the approach of the boat, the flying boat, couldn't we?
Yeah, it's getting a bit louder. You can sort you could probably spot it at this point, a speck in the distance, sort of.
Okay, look, apologies, but just to picture it correctly, what is a flying boat? It's like a boat or an airplane?
Yeah,
it's an airplane with a boat hull.
It's like a sea
those
plane.
are the planes that land on sea.
Yes.
Right?
They sort of land on their belly, and then they take off the sea.
Yeah. Okay. So we look up. So it's coming from the sky. That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say to everybody in the room, that when the flying boat comes in close, if we haven't resolved it by any other means, just pour everything you've got into that. Because in order to pick her up, it's going to have to come really close to the ship. So we can just literally tear it apart with machine gun fire. She is not getting off on that flying boat, no matter what. In fact, I'm not wild about her being able to do anything at all, but flying boat, definitely not going to be an exit for her. Everyone agreed?
Rudi doesn't really care much for guns, but he gently closes the eyes of the colonel and he leaves his dead body there respectfully and picks up his machine gun, locks and loads, and says, "Great."
You wait there for sort of a few more minutes, I guess, waiting for the plane to come into view.
Mm.
You can sort of look out of the lounge bar windows to see it coming close. The only way to get outside at this point is either to go out to the moon deck or to go sort of downstairs onto the sort of the deck below. A few more minutes comes and the airboat is definitely getting within range.
Which side of the ship is it going to put along?
On as you're look from the front of the ship, I'm very bad at the sides. It's on the right hand side of the ship.
Okay, all right. I'm going to suggest, Rudi, you may hate this idea, but I'm going to tell everybody else to get down onto the main deck by heading down the stairs and get ready to deal with the flying boat. And you and I need to go out on the moon deck and try and deal with our thief.
Well, she's not gonna give the bracelet now that has demonstrated that it actually has supernatural powers.
Yeah.
Thing that we only heard stories about, but now we have witnessed.
So this might be a time for you to charge through the door as fast as you can, try and tackle her to the ground, grab the thing off her, and I'll be right behind you with a sword in my hand if it goes wrong.
So as you sort of order the others sort of downstairs, they're sort of happy to. They totally went along with the deal. They're all far better with firearms than the two of you.
Yes.
They're all military, special forces, secret agents. They know their stuff, and
Yeah.
they'll run down. And even before you've got to the door, you start hearing that sound of machine gun fire, the submachine gun fire hammering up into the aircraft.
That's good. It might distract her a bit.
And in fact, as you're sort of approaching towards the bar, you hear a shout of dismay from the deck. It's like, no! What are you doing, you fools? And the doors burst open in front of you, and she appears in the doorway again, just as you're sort of heading towards her. And she looks at
She's distracted.
again.
She's distracted. I think it's time to
Out of my way!
You've
got to get there.
bull rush here.
Yep. Go for it, Rudi.
So Rudi charges him. Roll a. You're close enough, so just roll a strength and fight for me, please. And we're going to make it
Finally,
contested. We're going to make it contested roll. She's getting a bonus.
8 total.
Okie dokie. But for her bonus, she comes charging out, and Rudi's immediately on her, charges her, like bundles her over to the floor. You've got her on the floor, Rudi. What do you want to attempt to do while you're there?
Just like pinpoint her down and use my weight to make sure she won't go anywhere, and hold her hand, I guess, like the hand that has the bracelet.
Is the bracelet actually on her wrist?
It is on.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
As Rudi, as you're holding her down, could you make one more a flat strength roll for me, please?
Flat strength.
Yeah.
It's total 6.
Okay. You've got her all the way down, but the hand that's got her bracelet, there's suddenly there feels more strength in that arm than you would ever expect. She's shorter, she's very athletic, but she shouldn't have that strength. And she sort of grabs your wrist and manages to pull it off, and like with that arm, sort of like pull you off her and sort of push you aside, and like tries to clamber back to her feet towards the stairs.
In that case, I am going to swing my improvised sword.
Yep.
I'm going to try and lop her hand off.
Ah.
Straight through her forearm, please. The one with the bracelet.
Yes. So could you please roll a that again is a hand-to-hand roll. So 1d6 plus your strength plus your stabby, please.
Okay. No daring do this time?
No, this is more desperate than daring, I would say.
Okie dokie. That's 6 plus 2 plus 1. That's a 9.
That is a very good roll. Unfortunately for you, her roll is very good with her slightly supernatural power. As you swing for it, you try and push towards her wrist, but it feels like there's something stopping it. It doesn't mean you get nothing, because as you push towards it, it sort of pushes it away, and it ends up like pushing into her stomach somewhat. So you're trying to push for the arm, but it's like push it. It's like the bracelet won't let you remove it, so it like pushes your arm sideways, and the knife sort of scrapes against her, not deeply, but scrapes against her stomach as your arm falls down. And she sort of briefly looks down at a small amount of blood slowly starting to seep out, like a flesh wound almost. And she stares at you briefly before continuing walking straight towards the doorway.
Okay. Any ideas, Rudy?
She's much stronger than she should be. There is a lot of something supernatural indeed in motion here, and we must continue. We must stop here.
She's for the time being, at least, she's stuck on the ship. So I don't want her to get down among the others if we can avoid it. She's strong. How strong was she? Was she so strong that the two of us wouldn't be able to pin her down?
If I think we can do it together. Yes, I think we can.
Okay, then let's do that. And we're going to leap at her and try and grapple her and take her down.
Okay.
What's going on, by the way, on the skies? What's going on? Do the shooting and the plane?
You can't see much from the lounge bar because you've just got some sort of slightly curtained windows, but you can hear gunfire and you can sort of shouting and hollering from the outside. Sounds like they're getting some level of success in what they're doing, but you can't tell for sure. They're very energetic. So as you're trying to chase her, are you doing it purely with arms? Are sticks and knife being involved? Is the bin lid, like the soup lid, being involved?
I think, as you rightly point out, I'm reaching desperation now. I am almost hurling myself at her. This is almost spear tackle level.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it coordinating. Like both of us are gonna attempt that.
We're going to try and do that, and I suppose as we both hurl ourselves towards her, I'm going to drop the blade as I go. There's no. I'm going to try to drop it where she is, if that makes sense, rather than where I start, so that it'll be within reach when we get her to the ground if I need it.
Okie dokie. Right, both roll a strength for me, please. Rudi, you can have fighty.
Finally 9 total.
I managed an entire 3.
As Tony goes for sort of the leg side of it, sort of the spear around the chest, the sort of the belly area, sort of the lower waist, he sort of misjudges it and tries to grab on but can't do enough. But luckily, as he's sort of almost dragged along by her waist, Rudi sort of almost goes from sideways like a bear.
Bear hug, of course.
Charges into her, like both arms around, and like knocks her to the ground. and mostly thanks to Rudi, as Tony's clinging on for bare life on the knees. Rudi,
I say to Tony, take the bracelet off her. Tony, I will hold her.
Okay, I will try that.
So strong. She's freakishly strong.
If he can pin her, can I try and pull the bracelet off her?
You can. Could you roll a? Let's pick what. Let's go for a strength. Strength, please.
Yep. Not amazing. 6.
You sort of try and reach at it. You sort of try and pull at it, but you can't. It's sort of she's sort of fighting against it still. That arm's a bit free. You're pulling it off. She's constantly moving her wrist around. There's that more strength. As you're doing it, you see that she's sort of scrabbling around the side, and her hands close on your dropped blade. And she reaches it up as if to try and stab you with it, Tony.
Is she holding it in the same hand as has the bracelet on?
Other hand. Because you've got that sort of hold. You're sort of fighting with that hand, so that's the other hand.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna have to ride the hit, aren't I? I can't let go of the one I've got grip of. So if she manages to swing into me, she's just gonna do me some damage. But I'm not letting go of her bracelet arm, and I'm gonna keep trying to pull the bracelet off as best I can.
Okay, because that's our action and your decision, Rudi. I'm giving you one choice about what you want to do before she makes an attempted step.
Try to immobilize her.
Okay, so you're sort of like just constantly just trying to pull the arm, do something to sort of stop her from attempting that.
Yeah. Overpower her with my size, if possible. Bear hug her, whatever. I need to pin her and Tony to disarm her. That's my plan, I think.
Okay, could you roll a strength plus fighty for me, please?
That's much worse.
And add 1 for your beefiness because you're on top of her now.
Yes. So it's 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. That's a total of 7.
Okay, I've got to roll for her because it's contested. Oh god. Okay, for all her strengths and powers, as Tony is sort of seeing his life flashing before his eyes, all the wonderful wine he drank, all the wonderful wine he never got to drink, happy times and sad times, watching the blade come towards him, Rudi sort of rolls onto her, sort of trying to pin her down, and it's her weaker arm, and Rudi manages it. He sort of with all his strength, he sort of pushes onto top of her, and as he does, Tony loses sight of the blade, and he just hears this sickening crunch of the blade, and he sort of almost squints his eyes shut, like Ben does sometimes when he's waiting for a bad roll.
Yeah,
squint, just waiting to feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't, and he sort of hears a gasp from her next to him. He sort of dares to open his eyes, and he sort of hears Rudi sort of gasping, sort of panting for breath. And he looks and he sees that the blade is stuck out of her chest. And where Rudi sort of rolled onto her and forced the arm down in that sort of bear, pushing her down. As she's leant across, it sort of forced it down into her. And she sort of laid there with the blade out of her chest, and Rudi sort of laid on top of her with his weight. Her eyes are open, and she's sort of her mouth is opening and closing.
She's badly hurt.
She's got a big knife through the middle of her chest, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to try and remove the bracelet now, immediately, hoping that it will come off now she's not resisting, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. You attempt to remove the bracelet, but it appears like it's almost like fused onto her wrist. Like it's irremovable at this moment.
Then I'm going to say to Rudi, this bracelet is almost a part of her now. I'm going to reach over and take the blade and then say, but I'm thinking maybe we don't take the bracelet to France. Now that I've seen what it can do.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's a big C here. Maybe we find some chains, wrap them around her body, throw her over the side, bracelet and all.
Question to the GM. So we cannot remove the bracelet from her, even if we want to, even if...
There might be ways, but up to you guys.
There's a fighting chance if we cut her arm off, because then it won't be attached to a person, so to speak.
As you're talking, sorry, I pull the blade out, and as you're sort of discussing it, there is a gasp from her, and she sits bolt upright, her eyes roll back, and sort of starts clawing at the two of you, whilst still sat down, but sat bolt upright, just like fighting with almost an extra last breath.
Well, we're not having that. I'm going to try and use the knife to go through her throat.
Okay. Roll a strength plus knife,
Yep.
please.
It's not perfect, but can I have my fighty since it's with the blade?
Yeah, of course you can.
So that's 2 + 1. It's a total of 8.
Okay. As her sort of eyes have rolled back and she's sort of flaying around, you thrust the knife through her throat, perfectly through, and with a gasp and a gargle and a weird, unholy noise, she collapses back onto the ground, the unmoving, eyes gone, expression glazed, and
dead, right?
The wrist, the bracelet falls off her wrist.
Such power, no. It's true that no man should wield such unholy power. One could have guessed, could have thought that this would be a holy item, but to me that had nothing benevolent, more like something evil.
Agreed.
You're suggesting to drop it into the ocean.
I think you should throw it over the side, and if anyone asks, we should say it got lost in all the fighting.
And I'm going to pull a meme on here as Tony and Rudi discuss what they're going to do, dear viewers. You will never actually know what they truly did, because next time we join Tony and Rudi, because I hope we will again, what they have done, you'll only be able to know from what they tell you they've done. For you will not see the actions, whether they took it, or cast it aside, or threw it away, sold it, hid it, buried it. Because you will not be there. I will not be there. We will only hear through the stories they're willing to tell each other and other people. And with that, tonight's story in the SS Cans completes. And we will find out word of mouth.
Amazing.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Sorry, it's very late.
Amazing, Luke.
But thank you very much. And thank you, viewers. Thank you, John. I much appreciate you as always. Thank you, Ben. You're amazing as always. We should probably finish up quite quickly now. It's very late for John. It's his morning now. And
Yes.
But thank you, viewers. We'll be back soon. Thank you, guys. Take care. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully for more Tony and Rudi at some point. And we'll see you all soon. Find out what they truly did do. Who knows? I don't.
and
good night,
we'll be trustworthy in telling you.
Exactly. Right. History is told by the victors. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Good night. Good night.